New stuff.
Let's go. Seventh day in the same t-shirt, 11th hour and I'm still not making plans. I think that I should call a preacher. Exercise without the ease, my only chance. Saw you sitting in the bleachers, saw you naked on the TV, kissing Cam. I thought I saw him in my sweatshirt. Thought when I saw you that I wouldn't give a damn. You know you find a way to make me stay. You drag me like a dog, but that's okay. shit. Maybe I should get a haircut so I can fit in with your scumbag King Street friends. I think I'd rather cut my head off. There's no amount of drinks to help me hang with them. You know you find a way to make me stay. You drag me like a dog, but that's okay. You know you find a way to make me stay. I kinda wanna die, but that's okay. 'Cause I'm pathetic. I don't deserve the skin I'm living in. Yeah, I'm pathetic. You said it, you meant it. You know you find a way to make me stay. I'm just another smoke in your ashtray. You know you find a way to make me stay. I kinda wanna die, but that's okay. But that's okay. 'Cause I'm pathetic. I don't deserve the skin I'm living in. Yeah, I'm pathetic. You said it, you meant it. You said it, pathetic.
All right, so we have a few stream issues. Trying to get used to using the Canon M50 again. I don't know why. It's I guess maybe there's not a card in the camera, but whatever. It's not. I don't give a fuck. We'll take care of that next time. So today we need to level up. We caught up on like a few things in news. I think so I did see there was a pretty dope interview with some of the RuneScape devs and old school RuneScape devs and like Asmongold and Allcraft, I believe. Is that the guy's? I don't know if that's his name. I just know. I think that's like the name of his podcast. But anyways, I listened to it a little bit. It was pretty cool. So I kind of want to finish that. Obviously, we might have to wait for a little bit. So I'll just bring the screen over and we can just chill until, you know, we get a party. I got to see if I sold some shit. I'd really, really like that. We are broke as fuck right now. So, you know, old school Final Fantasy 11. That's kind of how that is. Okay, people. Let me connect my handy dandy controller. Yeah, so also too, just heads up, I didn't see Hopeless on there, which is a little bit of a bummer. We should look that up. You know what? I think it's worth the look. So let's do a new tab. So, can you stream music from Hopeless Records without getting a DMCA ban? Because I just looked it up for pure noise. So let's try. Let me reword it. So. Hopeless Records. Oh, maybe not. It looks like he looks like he might not be about it. So let's look into this a little bit. Hopeless Records boss claims fake streams may cost $300 million a year. May cost artists. Wait, does it say artists? No, it just may cost $300 million a year. A Rolling Stones headline claiming that fake streams could be costing artists $300 million a year could be seen as over-egging its story, given that a source is a single indie label boss citing anonymous sources. Still, Hopeless Records founder Louis Posen is making a useful contribution to the debate about the scale of fake streams in 2019. See, this isn't what I was looking for. Hopeless catalog gets removed. Just want to see if Sum 41 track was on title and notice all the okay, I don't really care about that either. Hopeless Records and Twitch. So actually, you could see. Stream music from Pure Noise on Twitch. Okay, actually. For streamers to listen to freely while streaming on Twitch. Well, what Do you have a link? A mod can link it. It looks like they never did. Fuck. Pure Noise Records. Hey, Twitch friends. We made a Spotify playlist songs you can use from Pure Noise artists during your streams. We're adding to it constantly. Reply with what song should be added. And please share your favorite. Spotify. Yeah, no, that's dope. We're going to follow that right now. That's actually sick. So I'm gonna read this article actually, because I got to read like most of it, but not all of it. But I'll read it out here. God damn, why is this shit so fucking? Oh, I see. These are just the guidelines. Twitch has announced some pretty rough new guidelines to playing music within streams, severely restricting content creators from using any music that they don't own. Essentially, if you didn't make it yourself, your stream is at risk of getting taken down. While this will severely hinder future streams across the board, there is good news in the response of some of our favorite labels. In the Twitter thread that posed the question to several labels, Pure Noise Records, Rise Records, UNFD, and Fearless Records stated that they have no issue if a streamer uses music from their label. I'm actually it's kind of crazy that Hopeless isn't part of that. LPDC. This is fantastic news. When was this posted, actually? Can I go to this? This is just a screenshot. God damn it. This is fantastic news to those wanting to throw some bangers in the streams, but it wouldn't get your hopes up just yet. There's no grasp yet on if there's some kind of automation that blocks music on the spot, and these labels are subsidiaries of larger groups. Fearless of Concord Music Group, Rise's BMG, etc. Nevertheless, still to see that labels have an open mind and are willing to let us enjoy their music with no concerns. I honestly agree. Like, it makes no sense. Like, in this day and age, it's so, like, streaming is what's going to make the money anyways, right? And if they're going to watch a streamer, like, let the streamer just do free marketing. I don't understand that. Like, their attention is going to the streamer, right? Am I crazy on this? I feel like that's, like, the perfect way to, like, insert yourself for free. Like, you're getting free marketing. Just, like, it's crazy. Like, even Nintendo figured this out. I don't know. I just don't know, mate. I really want to see if I'm not seeing Fearless, but I kind of want to see Fearless. I'm not seeing Hopeless. Ugh. I had to fix my shit. Let's see. Including... I don't know why I never followed these guys. I'm pretty sure I follow... I'm gonna follow this story. I don't know. I suck ass at fucking Twitter. I don't do shit. Tweets and replies. Okay, let's try this. I want to see this. Apparently, so 100th. This is dope. Like all these bands. Twitch thinking Dispatch was trying to rip my wanted, so I played Cold Rains. Signed by Hopeless Records. YouTube blocked it. Huh. Hate time zone. So go on Twitch and watch it and time it at the same time because yellow card and 2 other about your music and whether you would allow it to be played on Twitch streams. Curious that to want to be legit and know if it's okay to see. This is great. Like, dude, this is crazy. So it makes no sense to me. Things like pop punk and like even metal to some degree, like they're kind of dying off a little bit more in this day and age. Why wouldn't they? It makes no sense to me. Like especially like on Twitch, right? Like it's not like a huge boost, but it's like if someone's attention is going to a streamer and you can somewhat take some of that attention away for free, why wouldn't you? I don't I don't understand. Like it's like cool, we're not paying them and they're pushing our band's music. Like it's not like someone is I understand, like definitely throw a DMCA ban out there to someone who's just literally like farming your music with no content structure behind it. But yeah, I don't understand. I really don't. That's interesting. That's super interesting to me. I guess for now, let's just let's see what's on this playlist. Okay, I don't give a fuck about your cookies. I'm not even logged in. So you have Out of It by The Story So Far, 4 Years Strong. I don't know if I like that song. I don't remember this one, but I like Senses Fail. Don't know that one by Less Than Jake. By My Side, it's okay. I hate that Mrs. David song. Fuck that song. I don't even know what that is. Don't know what that is. Megan Dia, not bad. Don't know what that is. That band's okay. Drug Church, not my favorite. Can't Swim has some good stuff. Slow Burn by I actually like that song. Bearings, good. Stick to Your Guns, they're okay. Gnarwolves. Did I just actually pronounce the G? Gnarwolves. Honestly, I couldn't tell you the last time I listened to them. Microwave is dope. I don't know who the fuck Lurk is, I'll be honest. Boston Manor, good. I don't know about this song. I kind of fell out of their style a while ago. I don't know who this is. Rotting Out, I mean, good band. Knocked Loose, Heavier. Terror, always love Terror. You're the Knife, not horrible. I'm not a big fan of the vocalist, but I mean, I'll listen to it. Waiting for, I don't even know who that is. Sanction, I've heard of them. I don't think I've listened to them. Warriors, yep. Bouncing Souls, I haven't listened to Bouncing Souls in forever. War Wells, not really. Speak Low, only a couple times. Man Overboard, classic. Freak by Seaway, I fuck with that. Criminal, I don't like that song by State Champs. Hit the Lights, old school. Counterparts, Yamity Affliction. I don't know about that song by Hawthorne Heights. I haven't heard it. I don't think I have. Sharp Tooth, it's not my cup of tea. First Blood, not really. Take Offense, I love that band. I don't know if I like that album though. All Wrong, that's an okay song by The Story So Far. Like Pacific, not sure if that's like the good one. Lead Feet by Boston Man, that's the album I do like. Apartment by Seaway, not too shabby. 680 South, okay. They are actually going back. That's what I'm talking about. Honestly, okay, let's do it. Let's play it. Wow, that's interesting. I wouldn't have thought. I'm just gonna throw this in the side real quick. That's cool. That's actually, see, that is pretty dope.
My thoughts are my doctor's excuse for medicine, but I find it healthy to get lost inside my head. To come back with all that I can find it down on like blue lines. Far more useful than reading the cards across the times.
I haven't heard this song in forever. Damn, I didn't get shit. I might have to sell some fire crystals if shit gets tough.
55 up Whitey Road and Cena on my left. All you tried and failed to do was justify your theft. And I get that you're bereft of other things to occupy yourself, but keep my goddamn name out of your mouth. You're just a shade of gray, and all I want is forward.
I bet I can sell these earth crystals at least though. That's such bullshit that last party we went into. I was like 3 kills away from leveling. This? I don't even know what this is. Is he still there, that big ass? Oh, he changed his costume. That's the same person. Power boost. That was cool, you can see inside of it. Well, that's weird. They like... They designed the inside of it, but like... Oh, he's got the Bastokian. That thing's dope. That shit really comes in handy when you need faster movement speed. Wow, why is my running all fucked in this view?
Just give a fuck about something, motherfucker! Just give a fuck about something! It's never ending! When did you lose your way?
The fucking lyrics are corny, but... And, like, I hate the singing. I wish it wasn't, like...
I'm tired of suffering through all of everything.
I mean, he sings better than, like... I remember listening to Stick to Your Guns a long time ago. And I don't think he ever sang back then. Unless they got, like, a new vocalist. But, like... Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's like some of the shit's good. Like, some of the lyrics are corny and then, like, the singing's not that great. But I like some of the riffs. Oh, this song's good too.
While you're watching from the window rain, I've been spilling my guts out on the stage. Spent the best years of my life drinking myself to sleep at night. And now the glory days of all but fade. Everyone I used to know is jaded. Where is the passion that you used to have when music was the only thing that you had? All my pictures have faded over time. I burned the negatives of you. What if I got here?
It's probably like, what the fuck?
All I got, all I really got is this music that's left in me. And all I want, all I really want is a reason to believe. Someday I know that I'll be fading. Everyone I used to know is getting afraid, afraid, afraid of getting older. Every
How does he get this one? How does he get all the big shit?
every time slips by. I'm not afraid to die. Remember the passion that you used to have.
Alright, we gotta find a party.
The only thing that you had. This still is the only thing that is worth my breath. This still is the only thing that is worth my breath. All my pictures have faded
Oh.
over time. I burned the negatives of you. What if I got here left to prove? 'Cause all I got, all I really got
There we go.
is music that's left in me. And all I want, all I really want is a reason to believe. I've been trying so hard to make the best of my time. Instead of waiting around, hoping that someday I'll find all the things that I need and all the love that I get. Wasted till all the days become numb again.
that? Did it auto? Nice to people, you know what I'm saying? Hopefully they get a... Oh, by the way, we're in Florida right now, so if I get flash flooded, shit, I wasn't paying attention. Just being like a stupid idiot. Okay. I'm not trying to like cry and stuff, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like sort of all right, this is cool. I don't know what the fuck this is. Just friends. That horn playing is kind of cool. What the fuck? Wait, what the hell happened to my camera? I know exactly what happened to my goddamn camera. Hold on a second. God damn it. Alright, we're back. Okay, I can't listen to that though. That's kind of like not very good. You know what I'm saying? It's not great. It's not good. It's not very. It's not very. It's not very. It's not very. Wait, what is this shit? Why do I have? Wait, what? Close these 2 tabs. I don't care about those 2 tabs. Fuck them. Alright. Refresh that. Refresh this. Alright, guys. Let's, let's, oh, by the way, can you guys please jam my homies in Makari? Their band Reflections is dope. Oh, dude. Okay, so I totally wanted to see this. Okay. Well, let's first look. So, actually, okay, I need to like message somebody. Bitch, not 20 to 20. 20 to 30. Okay, guys. Alright. Fuck that shit. I need to find a party. Dude, I'm like super hyper right now. I'm feeling this. I'm feeling pretty good. I had a little caffeine kick, and I'm waking the fuck up because I took a little nappy nap. And I thought I was going to feel like shit, but I don't feel like shit, which is fucking awesome. Let me ask this person. Yo, bitch, you need a fucking party or what? Not whiff, it's quiff. All right, hopefully we get some answers back. If not, well, that's gonna be a bummer. It's gonna be a big bummer. It's gonna be a really big bummer. What in the motherfuck? Oh, hell yeah, this bitch fucking responded. Thane, the homie coming through, dog. Okay. Give me one. Motherfuck. About killed my cable. Damn, my shit is like riding up right now. I'm gonna grab a drink right quick. Like, I have my water here, but I don't know, I kinda wanna drink something other than water. That's some good ass water though. Anyways, then what we're gonna do, we're gonna watch Cooking with Yoshi P. How to make Final Fantasy 16. Looks like an interesting video. And actually, I think it was made by the same person who did the video of like, it's like, well, fuck it, you'll see. Fuck it, you'll see. It looks interesting, and it looks like it could be kind of funny. So, 1 second, I'll be right back. Okay, let's see. Did we get a response? Fuck no. Okay. So I guess we just gotta wait for them to send an invite. So I'll just kind of keep that there. But for now, what we're gonna do is this. Put this in that kind of like type of box. All right, we're gonna do this right here. Cooking with Yoshi P.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello there. Welcome to today's episode of Cooking with Yoshi P. I'm Chef Yoshida, the director and producer of Final Fantasy XIV.
And Savior.
That was years ago. Also, please don't remind me of that again. Today I gonna show you a brand new recipe on how to make Final Fantasy XVI.
Hey, don't you think this cooking metaphor is a little bit too overdone, Yoshida-san?
At least I didn't put an actual one in the game, Nomura-san.
Your game has one too, you know.
I didn't make it. I fixed it. God damn it, stop reminding me of that. Alright then, let's start with the setting.
Can we talk about what's his name real quick? So, who is it? What did he say? Oh. At least I didn't put an actual one. Wait, what did he say?
Actual one in the game.
Yoshida-san?
At least.
Wait, what is it? God damn it. Do you think this cooking metaphor is a little too overdone?
Yoshida-san?
At least I didn't put an actual one in the game, Nomura-san.
Your game has one too, you know.
I didn't make it. I fixed it. God damn it.
Yeah, I hate. Well, okay, I don't know if hate is the right word, but Tetsuya Nomura is like not my fucking favorite person. I feel like he's gonna try to ruin Final Fantasy VII Remake, and he definitely kind of ruined Final Fantasy VII. Or I'm sorry, fucking Final Fantasy. Kingdom Hearts 3. He probably definitely had to work under the constraints of Disney, but like, it's the secret movie and everything was like a dead giveaway that he's still kind of pissed about what happened with Final Fantasy Versus 13. Anyways.
Stop reminding me of that. Alright then, let's start with the setting. First we have 2 cups of medieval fantasy world. There is a lot of brands out there, but we can use whatever since it's pretty similar. Then add a tablespoon of stable Final Fantasy elements, few drops of Final Fantasy XIV lore and reference, and behold, our business division 3 secret ingredient. British accent.
What do you mean there's a language barrier? He's speaking English, you dick.
Next, we gonna make a story. 2 teaspoons of political conflict and faction wars. I also mix a little bit of Versus 13 concept for saltiness.
How the f did you get that? It's my top secret.
To be fair, it's not yours anymore, Nomura-san.
Oh.
Then add half a teaspoon of veggie revenge plot.
Oh, he fucking went there. That's what I was talking about. Hell yeah. Dude, he's fucking triggered. He's fucking triggered. Man.
Now then, I think I might have forgotten something here.
What about God killing?
Oh yeah, how did I forget God killing? It can't be a Final Fantasy game without killing God. How could anyone forget that when they direct the mainline game?
Don't look at me, that's not mine anymore.
Now onto the main character. First we have a whole Final Fantasy XIV trailer protagonist. And lastly, the gameplay. To help with that, let me introduce everyone our new
That's actually so fucking true. That's so funny.
Battle Director, Ryota Suzuki-san.
By the way, I'm sorry, I played all of Final Fantasy XIV up to Shadowbringers. Like, Shadowbringers, the story kind of finally got good, but it's like, bitch, it took a while.
I thought you paid me to make a game. What is this?
Suzuki-san, would you mind bring me 2 games that you have worked on?
Oh. Okay, sure.
Thank you.
Devil May Cry.
And that's
Yeah,
all of the
bitches,
ingredients. All we need to do now is to put it into the development oven for 4 years.
Shouldn't you put it in there for a month or 2 more?
For what purpose?
You know. Our company tradition.
And it's finished. Then we top it with the day 1 patch. And it's finished. Then you can add some DLC content with extra cost. And it's really finished. And that's all for today episode of Cooking with Yoshi P. Tune in next episode where I will be making Final Fantasy 18 MMO. Now if you excuse me, I'm going back to working on 14.
Wow, this is really good. Also, I got an idea.
Why are you two even here? Just go make 7 Remake Part 2 already.
You know, it is pretty funny though. Let's take a look at this.
Let's go!
Should this world be unmade, so too shall her children.
The world won't end today. But you. You will.
Wait, I want to see his
God, it's
reaction.
the music.
Dude, I'm sorry. This game... I'm not sorry. What am I fucking talking about? Final Fantasy VII Remake, you gotta admit, like, for all of its problems, everything, like, it just, like, they put their heart and soul into this goddamn game. It really did look fucking great. I mean, yeah, even though they had that whole backworld fucking 480p bullshit going on, the majority of the game looked pretty goddamn good. I can't wait for like the PS5 Part 2. I fucking hope. I would literally pay for like a upscaled or redone PS5 version of Part 1 easily. Wouldn't even think about it.
Ultima weapon somewhere around here?
Oh, true.
Making sure.
Okay, asshole, let's...
Don't. And you're wrong.
Those who look with clouded eyes see nothing but shadows.
Everything about you is wrong.
So what if there ends up being like 2 different Sephiroths at the end of this shit? What if he kills that Sephiroth? Damn. We're going 2 Nomura on this shit. I want to see what his reaction is.
Destiny comes.
The look on his face is priceless.
We drag our asses all this way. And
This is the welcome we get.
God, this game really did look so goddamn good.
Boy, oh boy. The price of freedom is steep. Embrace your dreams. And whatever happens, protect your honor. As a soldier! Come and get it!
Holy fuck, man.
Maximilian isn't even like responding that crazily.
Sephiroth is Virgil now.
Holy fuck. Okay, so I want to pause for the cause real goddamn quick. If you live in Florida, be fucking safe right now. Holy shit. There are literal waves smashing across the Howard Franklin Bridge. I live in the Tampa Bay area. Oh my god, and there are people driving across it. That is absolutely fucking bonkers right now. Like, I just want to show you guys this shit real fucking quick. Like, see this right here? This is all, like, that's one... I'm pretty sure that's one side of the bridge. That's the second... Or, okay, I'm sorry. This is one side. This is the other side. You can see the waves right up here. Smacking the bridge. That is fucking insane. What are people saying? I've seen waves like this with no hurricane. I'm a fucking badass. Yeah, fuck that, dude. I can tell you right now, that is some scary shit. I drove to Outer Banks one time, and it's crazy because it's like a 2-lane road, right? Outer Banks, South Carolina, just so you, in case anybody doesn't know, 2-lane road, and this shit literally is fucking crazy because it's like you 1-way, 2-way, and like you are barely on top of the water. That shit is nuts. Nuts, I tell you. Anyways, yeah, I just wanted to see that.
Destiny's Crossroads.
And why did you stop me?
I'm not really sure. What will we find on the other side?
Tifa's fine ass. They need to hurry up and add me to that party. So we can get this damn show on the road.
Boundless, terrifying freedom.
Okay, let's see. I just want to see what his reaction was. Oh, no. Honestly, okay, I don't really care. It's not really a big deal to me. All right. Being that I live in Florida, I thought maybe this would be something good to watch. Hope some of you guys follow the Breakfast Club. I do. Let's see what they got going on.
Breakfast Club, bitches.
You're a donkey.
Ah!
Donkey of the day for Wednesday, November 11th has to be a double donkey. Sometimes I walk in here and I come across more than one person who should get the credit they deserve for being stupid. And today is one of those days, okay? One hails from Florida, the other hails from Georgia. Which one do you want
we got
first?
Georgia in the house, too.
Okay, if I was going down 95 South from New York City, I would hit Georgia first, so let's start there. Kimberly Ragsdale. You are the first up to the front of the congregation. We would like to have a word with you. Now, Kimberly is 47 years old, and she was...
All right, I already know this is going to be funny, too. Florida man flashes gun after someone questioned his penis size. Honestly, I've lived in Florida all my life. I can tell you that's probably accurate.
Charged with impersonating an FBI agent. Why was Kimberly impersonating an FBI agent? Let's go to the Charlotte Observer for the report, please.
A Georgia woman faces charges after police say she posed as a federal agent and demanded free food from employees at a local
She looks like she's from Florida.
Kimberly Ragsdale, 47, was arrested and charged with impersonating a public officer after employees...
What the fuck? Where did they get that image? You think the Breakfast Club would be a little bit more resourceful?
Dialed 911 following her latest attempt to score a complimentary meal. According to an arrest report posted by the Rockmart Police Department, she was booked November 5th into the Polk County Jail and released on $3,000 bail after a 2-day stint behind bars. Authorities said Ragsdale kept up the ruse even as she was being arrested, at one point pretending to talk into a radio supposedly hidden under her shirt and urging the FBI to send someone to her aid.
That's right. What other reason is there to dress up as an FBI agent? They get free fast food, duh. Now listen, at least this woman has taste because she went after Chick-fil-A without a shadow of a doubt. To me, Chick-fil-A is the #1 fast food restaurant, and it's not even close. Okay, if you're gonna take penitentiary chances, do it with something that tastes great with Polynesian sauce. Though I must say, lately when I indulge in Chick-fil-A, that Chick-fil-A sauce slaps. Stop including Chick-fil-A sauce, okay? Now I also have to commend Kimberly for staying in character the whole time. You might have missed this part of the news report. Let's listen to it.
Authorities said Ragsdale kept up the ruse even as she was being arrested, at one point pretending to talk into a radio supposedly hidden under her shirt and urging the FBI to send someone to her aid.
That's her, okay? How the hell do you request back up to the home of the original chicken sandwich? Okay, the lines at Chick-fil-A are to bail out of jail, but you ain't got no money to buy no goddamn Chick-fil-A, Kimberly. $3,000 bills. That means you probably had to pay 10%, $300. You ain't got no money for no Chick-fil-A, but you have money to bail out? Knock it off, Kimberly. Now let's keep going. Okay, what does Uncle Charles always say about Florida? The craziest people in America come from the Bronx and all of Florida, and Dustin Allen Coons is no exception. See, Dustin was in his Jeep, minding his
I don't know why. Coons? I don't know why. It's just a funny ass fucking last name.
And he started revving his engine up. You know those people that be at the light just... So
that's also a Florida thing. And I'll tell you right now, it's fucking crazy because it's like the shittiest fucking cars you will ever see are the ones revving their goddamn engines. It's so annoying.
Toby Keaton, also a Florida resident, instead of minding his business, took his fool up Florida ass over to Dustin's Jeep and asked him why was he doing that. Would you like to know what happened next? Let's go to Florida Keys News for the report, please.
A Florida Keys man was jailed Halloween night after police said he threatened a man with a handgun while in his Jeep on Duval Street. The reason for the gun flash? Someone questioned the size of the driver's penis after he
right there! Stop right there! Stop right there! Stop right there! Let's play it again.
A Florida Keys man was jailed Halloween night after police said he threatened a man with a handgun while in his Jeep on Duval Street. The reason for the gun flash? Someone questioned the size of the driver's penis after he revved the Jeep's engine. According to the police report, you must have a small the driver said he was told. Dustin Allen Counts, 21, was arrested on felony charges of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon.
What an idiot,
carrying
too.
a concealed weapon and dealing in stolen...
Florida, by the way, I think that's like 10 years in prison just for flashing a fucking gun. I think it's... No, I'm sorry. I think it's mandatory 5 years for pulling out a gun, 10 years for shooting a gun, and it's like 15 years if you shoot somebody and don't kill them. Like, Florida does not fucking fuck around. What is it? Florida mandatory... How the fuck do you spell sentence? For pulling out a gun. Florida gun charge penalties. I might have been right on the 10 years, actually. The person has no license and this is a 3rd degree felony punishable by... Oh. Up to 5, okay. Yeah, so carrying a concealed firearm without a license. So weapon... Possession... Where's the fuck? Florida statute known as the 10-20. Yeah, so this shit's crazy. I think it actually might have been 10 to 20. Is a mandatory minimum sentence law in the U.S. State of Florida. The law can... Okay, yada, yada. What the fuck? Tell me what the fuck it is. I don't care. So, assault, aggravated assault. 8-year prison for possessing machine. What? I just want to know. So, felon should possess. Oh, here we go. Okay. The law's name comes from the main mandatory sentences. 1, producing a firearm during. Yep. So it's basically you pull it out. Producing a firearm during the commission of certain felonies mandates. It's a felony to pull out a firearm. I don't know. I think it's just like without probable cause without a valid cause. It's like without life-threatening causes. So yeah, I think that's 10 years because I know it's 10-20 life. So 10 you pull it out. 20. No, see, I feel like that's wrong. I'm pretty sure it's like 5 years if you just pull it out. 10. Producing a firearm during the commission. I don't know. That says 10 years. I could be wrong. They could have like some other like little balance in there, but 20-year prison sentence. Firing one mandates it. Okay, so fuck. That's firing one. Oh, so shooting someone, they add another 5 years. See, I feel like it's a little fucked up, right? Because I feel like it should be 5 years for just pulling it out. I mean, if you're gonna do it, I'm not really sure. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Obviously, you should. Yeah, actually, I take that back. If you wave that bitch, fuck you. But so 5 years pulling out, 10 years. I feel like that's like you just shoot it. Like people are fucking stupid, especially in Florida, right? People just take their fucking gun and just shoot that shit for no fucking reason. Definitely 20 years if you fucking shoot someone though. Fuck you. And then 25 years to, well, yeah. Oh, so 25 years to life is, yes, regardless of whether or not someone's killed. Huh. Anyways, yeah, that mandatory minimum is no fucking joke. And Florida man waving a gun because someone criticizes dick size. Honestly, it's Florida. It is what it is. You know, you either love it here or you hate it here. I'm actually so surprised I haven't lost power because of this fucking hurricane. I have like, I straight up have like half of one of my trees knocked down in my front yard right now, and that shit's still whipping. I have power. I have good ass internet right now, and I don't understand how, but we'll see how long this lasts. Are these people gonna fucking add me to the party, or like what are we doing here? Let's see. Let's see what's going on. Oh shit. My controller's not on. Let me message him back. Oh, okay. Maybe. This bullshit, right? Alright, we gotta do another search real quick. Alright, back to the drawing board. Back to the motherfucking drawing board. I'm guessing this guy's got a party or something. Alright, let's do this. I'm like so close to leveling too. I think I've got like 3 or 4 more kills, and I'll be level 20. I think 23, right? Yeah. Yep. No, we just finished. What the fuck, dude? Damn these bitches. We'll give this like another 10-15. If not, fuck it. We'll switch up, we'll fucking switch up stream. Although, check this out. I did... So this is what I was talking about earlier. I did see, so I don't know if some of you guys pay attention to this, but I also used to play like old school RuneScape when I was younger. Especially like when I moved over to my mom's house because I didn't have like any money, so I stopped playing Final Fantasy 11. And Asmongold recently just streamed old school, and I think he like really liked it. And then he was brought on to, I think the podcast itself is called like Allcraft or something. Is that the name of the person? Rich W. Campbell. Anyways, he was brought on with him and is actually talking to some of the RuneScape, old school RuneScape devs, which is pretty fucking dope, in my opinion. I keep this shit up. But we can kind of chill with that for a minute.
Yeah, I think that's always a challenge, right? I mean, with like plenty of other games too, where you have a game that comes out and, you know, there's content that people just kind of stop doing. And it's like, how do you get people to still want to do that or re-incentivize that without making people feel like they have to do it? I'm sure that's always kind of like a push and pull.
Yeah, I'm also curious as well, like how much communication really happens on the team between like two different versions of a game. Like how does that actually work? Because you guys have a lot of experience with it, and now I feel like there are a lot of games that are starting to try to figure it out. I feel like it's a tough thing to do.
I mean, we have a lot of conversations in-house, right? Like we work on different products, but the products at the end of the day are very similar. Both games send the same sort of world. They went down their own separate paths, but there's a lot we can learn from each other, and that's generally how it goes. We'll share learnings. I mean, recently we worked on a new piece of content called Mahogany Homes, where you go around and fix houses up for NPCs for construction XP. And RuneScape 3 are working on a very similar update, so, you know, we had conversations about that.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, like, I think it's always good because, like, obviously RuneScape 3 is being developed simultaneously with OSRS. So at a certain point, you can kind of see where the games would probably borrow from each other back and forth. I mean, that's something that's happened with WoW too, with like Classic and like how that's kind of informed the development of the game going forward as well. So it's good to see how that happens. And has there ever been something that got pulled and then you had to take it out of the game afterwards because people didn't like it?
Ooh, good question.
Yeah.
Anything spring to mind, Kieran?
That's what I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
I mean, we've definitely made changes to it. I mean, we make changes to it all the time. Rev Caves is a good example. I mean, you've already talked about it a little bit. We haven't fully removed it, but we have made like heavy changes to how it's been done.
All right, that makes sense.
Well, I think something to call out is the fact that when we release something, there's a period of time in the schedule built in, a good period of time, for us to make adjustments to the thing we launched based on player feedback. So they'll get into it. They'll be like, oh, hey, it'd be better if it worked like this. And then we take their advice and we make changes.
And in
so
fact,
there was an item,
time...
Kieran, the Siren's Tome was a reward from one of the most recent bosses we added to the game. So we pulled it back in December, January of this year. And it passed in the poll, but the feedback was so negative around the way it was going to be introduced to the game. They felt we could add it in a better way. So ultimately, we kind of went back on our word on what we said. You know, do you want it? Yes. Okay, it got added to the game. But because of the feedback we got, we decided to pull it, and we're going to add that content perhaps we'll add that content in a different form from a different manner of content in the future.
So how did leagues actually come to be? Like, what made that push for you guys?
Well, it's something we've been thinking about a lot. I mean, obviously, we've just launched Trailblazer, which is the second league for context. We did our first league towards the end of 2019 called Twisted League. But originally, it was we want to do something different. I mean, there's a lot of people who've been playing old school or...
Honestly, kind of fuck that. It's actually kind of boring. This kind of blows. What do I have as far as, damn, I only have 12 fire crystals. I don't know, I got 24, 36, 48. I get quite a fucking few fire crystals, actually. I got a lot of fire crystals. How much do they sell for individually, and then how much do they sell for? This is what I need to find the fuck out. This is what I need to find the fuck out. What the fuck? Ha ha ha. So, I kind of want to hear this. I'll put this down here. I kind of can't help but wonder too. Huh. There's a couple interesting things I'm finding right now. So, bear with me 1 second. I wonder if there's been any talk. Yeah, okay, we can fuck with that too. Alright.
It's been just over 4 months since the Final Fantasy VII Remake released, but owing to the rather imaginative and somewhat controversial ending, there has been a decent amount of speculation around, well, what's next? And that applies to both the project as a whole and the direction the story may take. Square Enix has, thus far, remained coy when it comes to answering those questions in a direct manner, but they have been talking a lot about the Final Fantasy VII Remake in recent times, and this means they have also begun talking about what everyone has affectionately been dubbing Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2, as they attempt to keep everyone warm in preparation for a big reveal later down the line. These conversations have come through numerous interviews conducted with third-party publications, such as a massive 15-page spread in Ffxi, but Square Enix has also started publishing interviews on their own platforms too, the first of which was with Motomo Toriyama, co-director of the Final Fantasy VII Remake. And while the subject of these interviews has often been to reflect and dive more into what was seen within the first part of the Final Fantasy VII Remake, naturally, on the odd occasion, conversation has shifted to the future. Throughout this video, we're going to look to compile every morsel of information disclosed so far about Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2, and we're going to do so in our typical granular style, because while we may not be the fastest to talk about the news, we always try our best to be the most diligent, so you don't have to. Before we do though, I wanted to let everyone know that we will be conducting a brand new community-based survey around the Final Fantasy VII Remake. 3 years ago, we did something similar for Final Fantasy 15, and the response was immense. We had almost 3,000 people take part in the survey, and the insights were fascinating as we dissected the data in numerous ways, and I even know for a fact that the results caught the attention of Square Enix. This time, we're hoping to go bigger and better, so if you have a spare 5 to 10 minutes, there's a link in the description to the new survey. We'd also appreciate if you could share this around to as many communities as possible, as the more respondents there are, the better the data will be. So, we've known since E3 2019 that the development team had already started planning for Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2. This news came via Yoshinori Kitase, the producer of the Final Fantasy VII Remake, as following a successful trade show, which saw the preview build garner significant praise, he wrote a blog post. In the initial sense, he spoke about the depth of content housed within the first part, and how they were pleased that they didn't have to compromise in terms of scale. But after this introduction, he then spoke about the future, saying while the development team finished the first game in the project, we are continuing to plan and outline the volume of content for the second. From the phrasing in this statement, we can imply that planning had been underway for some time before E3 2019, and this would corroborate something that one of the principal artists, Roberto Ferrari, had said back in 2016, as when responding to fans, he may have mentioned already working on multiple parts of the Final Fantasy VII Remake project, even back then. At the back end of 2019, Tetsuya Nomura, the game's director, then confirmed via Square Enix's blog that work had already begun on the follow-up, and he was confident that after playing through the Final Fantasy VII Remake, everyone's expectations would increase as to what they might do in the future with the project. Now that the development staff have seen the very positive reception, this continues to be the case, and as Kitase shared with Famitsu at the end of July, the development team have been given a lot of extra motivation to surpass what the first part has achieved. One of the challenges they face right now though is the current situation that we're all facing. Square Enix has had to adapt to developing the next game via remote working, and Kitase has noted that efficiency has dropped below 100% as a consequence. The good news is that perhaps due to there being so much outsourcing with the first game, that this may not affect things as much as might be expected, and Kitase noted that he doesn't foresee a big impact in the long term in terms of the potential release schedule. And we've already seen, thanks to motion capture artists for Cloud and Tifa, that even the more physical aspects of the job have started to pick up in Japan, as more people are now able to participate in some motion capture sequences. Nomura also noted, without saying anything specific in terms of timeframes, that even though they will look to push the quality higher and make the next game even more enjoyable, they're pushing for the follow-up to have a quick release so that fan cravings are satisfied. And as always, he asked fans to wait until the official unveiling, where their plans for the future will be clarified and everything will become very clear. Who knows when that might be though, as Nomura was saying similar things literally years before they did the big Final Fantasy VII Remake reveal on the eve of E3 2019, so for now, let's just talk about what we know. When speaking with both The Guardian and The Hollywood Reporter, Kitase made a particular point of mentioning that, even though he cannot share specifics, Sephiroth will have a much bigger role to play within the next game. And this served as one of their main motivations for having him appear throughout the first part, before having him then serve as the game's final boss. By Kitase's own words, they wanted to make it clear that his presence as a source of threat is one that dominates throughout the remake project. And this is something that would have resonated with older players, but also new players who only knew about Sephiroth in pop culture. Naoki Hamaguchi, one of the co-directors, also spoke with the Hollywood Reporter about another character who will feature more heavily in the next part, Red 13. When questioned about why they made him unplayable in the first part and how that decision had disappointed some segments of the player base, Hamaguchi said that those who were disappointed should make sure to look forward to the next game. Subtle. And on the subject of keeping things subtle, the development staff have continued to highlight that the stamp featured within the ending sequence is a different breed of dog compared to the stamp featured throughout the rest of the game. They are refusing to say more than that though, but it's clear that they want people to continue speculating as to what this means for Zack's role within the next part, which means that Zack will most definitely feature within the next part. They have also confirmed that Roche will resurface at some point in the future, and even spoke about their lament that he wasn't able to feature more within the first part. Due to his rather bombastic appearance, they had considered having Roche appear as a boss right at the end of the Midgar Highway, or at the end of Chapter 14, but neither made all that much sense from a narrative perspective, so both ideas were canned. And that's why they want to bring him back in the next game. When speaking with Famitsu, Toriyama noted that spontaneity is one of the character traits that stands out with Roche, so there's a high chance that he will appear in the next installment. It doesn't appear as though Chadley will resurface though, as they didn't respond to questions about his inclusion with very much enthusiasm, but you never know, as it was a decent mechanic for learning new materia. In the Ultimania guidebook, which came out a few months ago, Hamaguchi and Teruki Endo, the battle director, also shared insights around spells and summons. Within their initial draft, summons were not going to feature within the first part of the Final Fantasy VII Remake, and they were also going to restrict magic to lesser tiers, but they decided that even though it was the first part, it should still contain everything that a main numbered installment would contain, so they still made sure to include a decent array of spells, and summons also appeared, despite not doing so in the original. This meant they would satisfy consumer demand, but it also meant there was scope for them to hold more powerful spells and summons back for the future, with Hamaguchi making specific reference to Flare as an example of this. The development team also spoke about their inclusion of characters from the compilation of Final Fantasy VII, and how when they started the project, including these characters was one of their main objectives. They wanted to try and add more context to the story, and to make the world feel more believable. It's why characters like Mireille, Kyrie and Leslie were included, having featured previously within a novel called Final Fantasy VII Lateral Biography, Turks, The Kids Are Alright. For their role within the remake, brand new story content was added to enhance these characters, but only because it made sense to do so. The development team also spoke in the Ultimania about how passionate they were about expanding the backstory of other characters. We got to see the sub-scenario relating to Jesse's acting career, but they also had plans to include many more, such as a sub-scenario revolving about what the Turks were doing, and another where Tifa and Marl worked together to pick out the dress for her infiltration of Don Corneo's mansion. But due to time constraints, many of these sub-stories had to be cut. And if we're looking to the future, especially given the current climate, in order to meet deadlines, small nuances relating to the fleshing out of characters may need to be sacrificed to ensure that deadlines are hit. This may also see them end up being harsher about how and where the compilation features, as they are ancillary details as opposed to the meat of the story. And that raises an interesting point as to what the future does entail. At the moment, Square Enix has been coy about how many parts there will be. They've stopped short of giving any kind of specific number and have even said it could fluctuate depending on how long development times are. Shorter development times would lead to more parts, and longer development times would lead to less parts. The crucial part, though, is the use of the word parts, implying that there will at least be 3, and based on the density of the first part and how the rest of the story pans out, that would make sense. But according to industry experts who are outside of Square Enix and instead deal with the financial side of things, some believe everything will be wrapped up with just one more part, as Square Enix cannot afford to have this be a protracted saga. Square Enix has just announced that the Final Fantasy VII Remake has shipped over 5 million copies. This has generated revenues of approximately $300 million, as confirmed via their recent earnings report, where the Final Fantasy VII Remake accounted for around 80% of their units sold in the quarter. That's very solid performance, but against a development cost believed to be around $144 million, which would then have marketing, the cost of producing physical goods, and other financing layered on top. It's not quite as impressive as it might seem.
Yeah, it doesn't seem very lucrative.
The original Final Fantasy VII, for example, had a production budget of $45 million, but over $100 million was spent on marketing. And given how grandiose Square were with their marketing this time around, which included the longest advert ever to be aired on Japanese TV, huge brand collaborations, and plenty of TV spots in the US, who knows how much they spent on marketing Remake. Still, as around 40% of the game's sales were from digital downloads as opposed to physical copies, which was much, much higher than Square Enix had expected, they were able to retain much of the revenue as profit as opposed to giving it straight over to third-party vendors. And in the years to come, this should become the new norm, with major publishers revealing that in Q1 of this year, they received over 50% of their sales through digital, hence the option of the discless PlayStation 5. The other good news is that when Kitase spoke during that E3 2019 interview, he also noted that development of the next part would be much more efficient. They will be able to reuse numerous assets, and they won't have to absorb the cost of the wilderness years where CyberConnect 2 was serving as the lead developer. But the pressure is on for whatever's next with the Final Fantasy VII Remake project to match whatever the first part ends up doing.
Oh, that's dope.
And this is why they set the game up to end in the way it did. As if they had just done a straight one-for-one remake, it would have satisfied the hardcore, but there would have been little to discuss. Their plan was instead to make sure it was different enough so that fans would feel the need to speculate about what was to come. They needed to add an air of uncertainty, and the ending has been crucial to keeping people invested. On that basis, it's safe to assume that whatever comes next will have to adopt a similar policy as they attempt to stop there being any kind of lag in sales between the various parts. But while it may enable them to pull in decent sales for Part 2, if there is a Part 3 and a Part 4, a similar tactic will need to be employed, and it may become an increasingly difficult challenge to make sure they can continue to keep people invested via speculation, as well as pulling in new players to replace those they lose along the way. And when speaking with the New York Times, Atul Goyal, who's the managing director at an investment bank called Jefferies & Company, stated that he doesn't believe Square Enix will be able to take on that challenge and succeed. For that reason, he's writing a report to potential investors that he believes it would be prudent for the next part to be the last part, as it would mitigate financial risk. He's also predicting that the next part would need to ship before April 2022, so that Square Enix...
So here's the thing about that, though, like... Here's my feeling about that. So, like, basically what they're saying is that, like, the cost to make the games is outweighing the benefit that they get. I mean, here's the thing, right? And we all kind of knew this was going to come. Like, if you get to that point, it sucks. But dude, like, fuck the $60 price tag. How much extra revenue would you generate if you went up like an extra $5 or $10? You know? you know, it's a premium game. Like it's not like some shitty fucking game that's gonna sell you on all the DLC in the world. They didn't even make any DLC for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you want a premium product, you gotta pay premium prices sometimes. And being that every other game is some kind of gacha ripoff, I'm actually probably on board for that. Yeah, I understand. Like, I remember being a kid and it's like, fuck, dude, an extra $5. Like, how the fuck am I gonna do that? And actually, I just remember being broke too. But like, in the grand scheme of things, $5 extra to generate that extra bit of revenue, it's not that much. It's not that much. And even still, extra $10, like how far would that go, right? Because they sold, what did they say? They sold 100 million copies? Whatever the fuck it was. Multiply that by 10. I mean, come on. Or 30 million copies, right? I don't fucking remember. Some shit like that.
Don't see a huge drop in their earnings, following what will be a bumper year for them after the Final Fantasy VII Remake was delayed from its intended fiscal year into the one that also features the Avengers. And it's a prudent assumption, but only if you're thinking about the finances and not about the overall flow of the story. We have seen before though with the Final Fantasy XIII trilogy how much Square Enix struggles to sustain momentum between releases within the same project, and this was also evidenced with the significant drop in sales between Final Fantasy X and X-2. Perhaps that's why Square Enix have been cagey about the length of this project, as they could be playing it by ear depending on how well each installment does. But if the development budget drops to say $100 million and this is sustained with each part as they look to maintain the quality and continue to exceed fan expectations, it's clear that they just cannot afford to have a Lightning Returns. Either way, there is so much to be excited for, and there will be plenty of ways to keep players engaged while we wait for more information. Square Enix's social media will be crucial in this regard, and the conversation around the Final Fantasy VII Remake hasn't stopped. It led to the Final Fantasy account being the third most popular gaming account on Twitter over the first half of 2020, and they show no signs of relenting as they look to push more sales for the first part and keep people warm as they...
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm just now logging off of Final Fantasy 14.
Oh, word? Yeah, no worries. I was actually, it's funny you just came on. I was kind of giving up hope on leveling. So...
You were...
I was kind of about ready to give up hope on leveling because I'm having like bad luck in Quiff'em tonight. So.
Oh, that sucks. Yeah, there'd be some nights where it would suck. Last night I got on, and I was trying to stay on for a little while, like around midnight-ish my time, which, like, that would be 3 hours from now.
Yeah.
The servers went down.
Oh, really?
And it just randomly kicked me off. Yeah.
I've never had the servers go down. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I guess he's been... I was looking at his Facebook page, and he's been having some issues with the network that he's been hosting it on. Oh, man. And I'm running into that error again.
You are?
Oh, I know why. I changed my password.
Oh, yeah. Dude, they got this Halloween event kind of going on in Juneau right now. I don't think they have it in any of the other cities, but like it's kind of cool. You can pretty much it's like randomized, but you transform into like mobs and then like other characters, and they actually like have all their like full animations. It's kind of dope.
The game totally deafens me when I go to log in. The start screen is so loud. Yeah, so I couldn't hear you there for a second.
No, I was gonna say there's a Halloween event. Yeah. It's kind of cool. You get like all the animations and shit.
Okay.
But where are you at right now, and what level, I guess?
So my primary job is level 18, almost 19, and that's warrior.
Oh, okay.
And then I had Monk up to 8, but I was leveling that alongside my friend who was leveling Thief. And then I was gonna switch over really quick to level Thief so that I could eventually do like a warrior sub Thief for a little bit.
Word. It's funny, I'm actually Thief sub war right now.
Yeah.
I always used to do like Red Mage first, but I felt like this time, obviously since we're a little bit older, I don't have as much time. So I was just like, it's a little bit easier to like level Thief first. That way I can get that that TH and hopefully get better items.
TH is nice, especially when you're needing to hunt for crafting and all that junk. But once you have sneak attack, also that changes the game.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it definitely helps a lot. And I've been testing too. So I tested it last night. I went and did sub job, which actually I just realized I haven't even been in a party, so I didn't even change the job. But I went and did sub job monk, but I think warrior's a little bit better. You get a little bit extra strength and stuff.
How soon can you level in Quiffum here?
I think it's like 20. I want to say. I could.
Yeah,
be wrong.
It looks like he's raised a lot of the minimum level.
It could. I mean, I could be wrong, but there's nothing really going on right now.
Okay.
We could probably hit a party in Dunes if you really needed to.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about doing.
Where are you now?
I'm in Sandy though.
Oh, okay, Sandy.
I can at least warp down to Ronfar, but I gotta run most of the way because the tally changed.
Okay.
And it looks like Zolkheim's still stuck at Bastok till the next time we change.
Heard that. Well, I'm in Juno right now, so I'm gonna have to hit a chocobo and
all right,
run over.
It'd probably take about a similar amount.
Yeah. I actually haven't used a chocobo yet, so it's been a little while.
Wait for the second. For now, though, it's a case of wait and see. Square Enix are planning to put out the second part of their interview with Motomo
I messaged
Toriyama
my friend too to see if he'd be on, but I think he's got a dinner or something, so I doubt it.
Gotcha. You guys are on West Coast then, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Heard.
Are you an East Coast dude?
Yeah, I'm on the East Coast.
Yeah. The first half of the week, I'm usually a pretty late night person for this game. But that's because I do raid with my group Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday on Final Fantasy XIV. And we're working on the current Shiva battle.
Oh, the Unreal or whatever it is?
No, we're doing the E8S. Our static started like 2 or 3 months late.
Yeah.
So it was pretty much already the next patch by the time we were starting. And we finished E7S like a little over 2 weeks ago.
Interesting.
We're working on Light Rampant though right now.
Yeah. I played through the story of 14. I don't know, I was just never like a big fan of WoW, and like 14's graphics are amazing. I just don't I don't know. I like Shadowbringers, but I felt kind of like the rest of the story kind of took too long. I mean, it's been around a long time now, so it is what it is, but
I'll play them both. This definitely brings back the nostalgia feels for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's more or less it's just like the only thing I don't really like, and this is really it pretty much, right? I kind of like, yeah, each job kind of plays different, but like,
yeah,
they don't, how do I say this? I feel like when you have certain things that like are taken away, like things like elemental weakness, it's like, all right, well, like, what makes a black mage really that special then? Or like what
Yeah.
makes a red mage or a blue mage? You know what I mean? Like what makes these things really that special? And like I don't know what it was, but like that type of thing for me kind of killed it. In my like didn't kill it because I played through everything, but
yeah,
it's just like because I mean like the Shadowbringers. I thought the Shadowbringers story. I think they finally nailed it. So as long as they keep doing stuff like that, it's good. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just like the battle system. Really, I think it's
it's like you kind of function in a similar way. I'd say the only differences that I see between like I would take Monk and Dragoon. They're both in range DPS, like right there in the boss's hitbox. The only difference between the two is that like with their combos, they're almost opposite of each other on their positionals.
Yeah.
And then you can cheese that now with True North, depending on when you have it. And then Dragoon's got a longer, like, flow of abilities, but Monk's got, like, quicker stuff with, like, they've got Brotherhood and a few other things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like they still kind of essentially do the same thing. There's just minor differences. Where on here, with the type of battle that you have and the type of weaknesses certain enemies can have, most jobs can use like intermix and intermingle certain weapons, and the combat can be like drastically different for the job.
Yeah, and that's like another thing too, actually. I think everything I'm talking about pretty much spans down to the combat in general, because it's like, right, that's another thing with like Final Fantasy 14, and this is like a WoW thing. This is why I was never that big into WoW. It seems like everything is a rush to end game, and it's like, well, what's the whole point? Why don't we just start off like that? Why do we have to go through all the other like if we're just doing that, right? Like why don't we just why don't we just start there? Because it seems like everything else is kind of pointless, right? We just put a story there.
It's that rush to end game because the beginning of the game isn't that important, where you can definitely feel the difference in the level process on this. Although retail Final Fantasy 11 right now
it's
kind of
easy.
easy.
Wow. Yeah, they tried syncing it, but that's why I don't play retail.
Yeah. And I do have 2 jobs left to level on it, but I don't really care. I think one's Dancer and one's I don't think it was Geomancer. I think it was Blue Mage. Oddly enough. And Blue Mage is one of those, like, right now, you can do almost anything with that job.
Oh, really? Did they finally uncap it? Didn't they cap it at like 50 or some shit?
Oh, well, I mean, on 11 retail.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Isn't it like retail is like, it's like Rune Fencer, Scholar, and Blue Mage, right? Those are like the mains.
Yeah, like if you have a Rune Fencer, Scholar, Blue Mage, Black Mage is still really powerful because of death. Like basically with a lot of those classes, you want to get them fully unlocked and mastered.
Mm-hmm.
And then you grind up your gear a ways, and the type of, with how many different things there are to do in the retail version of it, I don't think that there's a whole lot of fun in it. Like,
yeah,
you could do Vagary, you could do
they get lost in the sauce, man. That's like kind of how I feel about it. Because I'll be like, for me, right, that's what it is with 14. Like, that's what kind of pushes me away from 14. It's like, I feel like they kind of forgot what brought people there, like, into that world, like, to begin with. Because, like, I mean, if we start talking about gear, right, it's actually, like, one of the coolest things about 11, in my opinion, is, like, you can have a piece of gear that's, like, level 13, or whatever the leaping boots are, right? And it's like, dude, you carry that, like, yeah, it's a super rare and hard item to get, but, like, the fact that you can wear it at, like, such, like, a low level, and like carry it all the way to like if you're doing like 75 max is like incredible. It's like once they got to like a certain point, I mean, I understand like obviously a game can't like just stay the same forever, right? So I understand why retail is the way it is. So I'm not like trying to sound like elitist or some shit, but like it's just I feel like there's got to be ways they could do some like things a little bit better. Like I don't know. That's just my opinion on it. Cause like I used to love like that aspect is just one example, but I used to love the fact that you could just literally go and like have a piece of gear that would stay with you forever. And it's like, damn, if you got that gear, it has like so much benefits. It's like, damn, not only is it awesome, but like you never have to buy that piece of gear again. You can use it on like other jobs that are just like beneficial. Or you could sell it and just like, you know, hook yourself up from the get-go. And it's like, yeah, like it makes things easier, and it's kind of like a little hack in the system, but it's like a really hard to get hack in the system, right? It's like you kind of have to earn that. Like it's just, there are certain things like, yeah, there's like certain weapons that it's like, okay, well, I'm only going to use this for like probably 10 to 15 levels, but it was like, okay, the game wasn't about like just rushing to max level and like doing end game. It was about like the experience of like going through the game. Like leveling was less of a I need to level like process, and more of a like it's just like everyday life, like part of the game, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which was like, I loved that. Like that, I thought that was like, I think they nailed that. That's one thing Square Enix this day, I think. Well, because actually no, because even like RuneScape, right? Like I can go back to old school RuneScape, and they did that exact same shit.
EverQuest was the same way too.
I was gonna say EverQuest, yeah.
Yeah. It was that old. They stuck to an old RPG element.
Yeah.
Like it felt more like a role playing game.
Yeah, that's really what it is, because it's like, you know, me and Grave have talked about this before too. It felt to me like when you saw someone who was like level 75, it was like, oh shit, that's like really like an accomplishment. Like you actually I know you had to have been like playing for like a long time. Like, oh, you probably like, you know, oh, how many jobs do you have at level 75? Like, oh shit, you got like 4 or 5 jobs. Like, damn, dude, like you really know your shit. Like, and I understand, like, whatever, like you can reminisce on the past and all that fun shit, but like, I mean, I don't know. I think you can still do that stuff today, and I don't know. I feel also too like conditioning is really a thing, right? Like, and I understand like from like a capitalistic perspective, yeah, of course, everybody wants everybody to play their game, so like, oh, you know, if I make my game a little bit more accessible, right? Like I'm gonna maximize on this profit a little bit, you know what I'm saying? And like,
funny thing too though was that for the longest time Square Enix held out and they didn't bend the knee, like, and it wasn't until they started bending the knee that they lost a lot of their people. But they ran into another issue, which was that they wanted to, I think they had their priorities wrong in one aspect, and it's a Japanese thing. There were a lot of Japanese players that still played the game with the PS2.
Oh yeah,
and the
that's
PS2
true.
held the game back as far as how big it could grow. Because what people started to figure out right away was this world could be infinite if it just progressed horizontally. Like if you just expanded your horizons.
Yeah.
Because then when you create new content, you don't have to raise the level cap. All that gear that you're grinding to get, all that gear that's making you like super special can still have weight and hold a good place.
Yeah, I totally agree.
You just have to be able to increase it. Well, they started to run out of RAM and like storage space. So like the moment that they decided we're gonna limit what we do on the PS2, then it was starting to affect the people on Xbox, because Xbox had a small amount of RAM and could only open so many DAT packages at once.
Interesting.
And then that meant like when you were in things like Besieged, your game would freeze up and crash because you just couldn't process all that stuff at once. But PC players were have it no problem as long as they kept upgrading. And if they would have just said at a certain point, hey, moving forward, if you want to play this expansion and go onward and seek outward, then you have to play on PC.
Yeah.
And I think they could have done that by Ottergon as soon as that expansion came out.
Well, I mean, you notice, like, I mean, that's one of the first things you notice in Ottergon, right? Is like the graphical fidelity. It seems like the texture packs were like significantly more detailed, and you can tell that, like, oh shit, like they're using a little bit more here. It's not just like your plain palette that you had that was copied over from Rise to COM.
I know that
COP.
I know that they had a bit of issues when they shipped COP. I remember I had to wait like a week or two to get it because there was a hurricane, like Hurricane Katrina or something like that, and it wasn't shipping well in certain places.
Yeah.
And so they were like trying to disperse it evenly. And I know that my store, even on the Pacific, wasn't getting it, and I was like, that's pretty dumb.
Oh yeah, you know what? I do remember that because I also ordered during that time. That was when the Atlas came out, or when it was supposed to come out. And I think
the Atlas, yeah.
Yeah, I think I think they're supposed to come out like around the same time. And like the Atlas, dude, I remember it took. I think my shit was on back order for like 6 months.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
The Atlas, I had to special order that where I was, because no bookstore would pull it in, no game store.
I think I lived in Florida. Well, I still live in Florida, but like I was in Florida, and I think it was like a not GameStop, but GameSpot. I don't know if you remember that. I don't know if they got bought out or not, but like I remember going there and like I would like my dad would like drive me there because he knew I paid for this shit. And I went there like I remember within like certain month span of times, my dad was like, "You should probably just get your money back." And I was like, "No, fuck that! Like I've waited this long." I remember like being like a kid and being like genuinely pissed. I was like, "No, fuck that! We're not playing this game today."
And it had this cool like you had like a sleeve on the outside of it or a dust jacket.
I still have it. It's fucking nice. Like it's on, and you know what too? It's like I actually. And for as much as people make fun of it too, because I have the old 2004 guide for Final Fantasy 11 too. It's not like as pristine.
The Brady Games one.
Yeah, it's not as pristine as the Atlas that I have, but like, honestly, it's funny looking back at that because it really is like for all the because it obviously there's certain things that aren't accurate. Like there's sometimes like even the Atlas, right? Like I remember there would be certain things in the Atlas that were correct that like wasn't correct in the Brady Games guide, and then vice versa too. And then sometimes like both shit was fucking wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But it's funny though looking back, especially at the Brady Games guide, because it's like how experimental things were back then, and it really is kind of like taking a look like back in time, because I don't know if you remember like on the Brady Games guide, the recommendations for like sub jobs and jobs is like it's just nuts. It's like,
oh yeah,
it's like what is it? Before you can be Dark Knight, like why don't you sub job Warrior and Black Mage or some shit like that, or like White Mage? And it's like, oh, you get like a little bit of healing, and it's like, yeah, like you would think that like, oh, if you just like read the job descriptions, like, oh, that's like a good idea, like maybe, but it's like obviously in practice it's not the greatest. But no, it's interesting, especially because back then too, like, and I always joke about it whenever it was like on Grave server. It was me and actually one other person. I don't remember who it was, but we always did Red Mage / Warrior.
Okay.
And that's just because it's like, I remember looking at the Brady Games guide and like that was one of the things. It was like, and I started off on Red Mage. And I was like, oh, I'll just do / Warrior because whatever, it evens out my attack, and I'll just, I'm just using like the end spells and like fucking bio and shit like that anyways. So if you just combo it up, you do like little bits of damage like over a good period of time.
Did you play on shoot, was it Ashura with us?
Oh, so here's the funny thing about that. Okay, let me just ask you this question because this will be really funny. What city did you originally start in?
My first city was Bastok.
Okay. Do you remember a couple that would sit at the lighthouse every fucking day? And for every new player that came and would do the bubbling Bernie quest, they would like heal you and like, but they would just be sitting. You know how like people used to fucking, one character would sit and then like the girlfriend or something would like be the like little spoon and they would like sit and like that was like a really common thing. Yeah, there would be a couple that would be there every day just watching like the digital sunset. It's crazy. I know because Grave had that exact same experience. I told him about these, like, holy shit. He's like, I knew those people too. Like, they healed me when I first started. They were both like level 75, and that's just what they did.
Yeah.
I don't even know if they played the game. They literally just fucking like sat there.
Just sat there all the time.
I mean, in retrospect, it's like kind of weird, but like, you know what I mean? But I thought it was pretty cool, you know, back then. And it's just really interesting too, like when you talk about things like that, because remember that's all like premature internet, right? Like we didn't have all those urban legends.
Remember when I first downloaded this game, it took me a week because I was on dial-up.
Mm-hmm.
And our dial-up here was 28.8. It wasn't even like 56K. Somebody'd answer the phone and I would be like, I've got to start all over.
Yeah. No, that happened to me all the time. I used to get fucking, the lag too, especially first time you hit dunes. That was like the fucking craziest, right? Everybody, it didn't matter it didn't matter what PC somebody had, everybody got the fucking dunes lag. I think getting DC'd too was fucking prominent.
I remember our area, since we're still in a semi-rural, like there's a lot of rural stuff around us, but our town is like a logging town.
Mm-hmm.
And we had gotten a few places that had high-speed internet with Ethernet. So cable hadn't reached us yet. We had a little bit of like the 1 megabyte per second access, and one of the companies that allowed it was AOL. They had AOL broadband like popping out there. And I tried a free trial of it, and then I started subscribing, and I was able to do that with like a laptop that I had. And granted, I was running on pretty like crappy settings, but I would still be able to play the game consistently at that point.
Yeah, that was playing the fucking game was a definite process.
Mm-hmm.
I do remember that. No, it was sick though. I mean, I do like, again, we'll never get this shit back because of the way the internet is now. Like someone will find it within like an hour, right, and then post that shit all over the internet, and then everybody fucking knows. But it's like, it was. I mean, there's gotta. I kind of wonder even about that though. There's gotta be smarter people out there, who can figure out how to like tailor that kind of experience, at least for a little bit. Because I mean, you still, even in like, that was the cool thing about Final Fantasy 14. I noticed that did actually kind of tailor over, was that when there's new content out, you do kind of hear that old inkling of like people speaking about like rumors and stuff. And to be fair, I mean, honestly, that one thing about Final Fantasy 14 that bugs me is that like it feels more like a one-player experience than it does like a multiplayer, at least.
Yeah.
For at least for me, that's how it was. And then like you don't really explore dungeons and shit. Like you don't. I don't know. That's. And then when you do, some people get pissed. At least in my experience. Again, I've heard other people say otherwise. It's just like literally every time I ever did, like people kind of just like hurry the fuck up.
On this next patch, they're finally releasing a Dungeon Explorer option, and it. Oh shoot! I think I'm being chased by battering ram.
Where are you at?
Yeah, I am, but it's okay. I'll live. I'm in Lathine, like halfway through it.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I'm on my Chocobo, so I was gonna say I could go over there and like pull them, but yeah, that was so like what I was getting at is the one cool thing that I used to love about Final Fantasy 11, right? And So I think I don't remember how old I was. I was a kid though when the game came out, and I remember I used to watch, and I think it came out. I want to say it came out like right after, because dude, it was crazy how much influence that this show took from Final Fantasy 11. I don't know if you ever watched it or if you ever knew about it, but the show like Dot Hack Sign.
My brother was really into the show, and he bought all the games and everything.
So, dude, real talk, they copied everything down to play online. They just didn't call it that, right? But like, if you played Final Fantasy 11 back in the day, it was like pretty fucking similar, like scary similar. To like the interface they used that had like their own like mail service and stuff like that. Like it was, and like the way it looked, it's like it was like spot on. So like I don't know, I like the show because of that, because I was like, oh shit, this reminds me of like Final Fantasy 11. And like even down to like some of the shit. So this is where it gets kind of cool. When I talk about like the rumorish type stuff. The way that they dealt with it, I remember like going in game, and I'll never forget. I forgot what year it was, but the first time somebody got Matt's cap, right?
Yeah.
It like, and it was he was on a Sura server. I'm pretty positive.
Yep. I remember my first the first person I knew with it was, I want to say, so I remember the first guy to get it was Japanese.
Yeah.
But my first friend that got it was a guy named Luan. I was in an H&M link shell when we started actually doing that stuff. Called Tribe. We had actually merged from like 3 other link shells, and then somebody kept like getting jealous of us and trying to create, like, if we had to break and create that link shell again, they tried to do it at the same time and steal our name. And so that's when we had to create Tribe FTW, which like that went on for a long time. And then a lot of the people after I quit started botting.
Oh yeah. You know what's funny about that? I'm not sure how lucrative that was in Final. I know like a lot of people did it, but like I know there's a lot of games where people made a fuck ton of money, but I feel like I never heard about that with Final Fantasy 11.
It wasn't about the money so much with that. It was about pulling the big mobs and being able to detect them beforehand.
I remember that was fucking annoying because
there were a lot of tricks you could do on PC. Like you could change the model of the enemy to be like a Dalmal, and their head might pop out. Oh, I see you.
Yeah. I'm right over here.
But their head might pop out of the ground because of the fact that they're underneath the map first, and then they move up.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but they would track NMs that way.
That's interesting. Going back to the Matt's cap thing, because like and again, this all goes back to like, oh, I see him, the little goblin. Yeah, no, going back to like the Matt's cap thing and like the rumors, it's interesting because all that shit kind of like ties into itself, right? Like, so when you would have people like the Matt's cap thing, for instance, I literally remember, and this is where I think the shit was actually like really cool. Like, I don't know about you, but I remember like in game, because it, you know, they didn't have, I don't think TeamSpeak was a thing back then. I'm pretty positive it wasn't. That was before like TeamSpeak, and that was before there was like a it started with a D, but it wasn't Discord. It was something else.
So it was because TeamSpeak came in second. It was
fuck, I remember it. I don't remember the name, but it starts with a D, I think.
And they would go back and forth between which one sounded better.
Exactly, yeah. But anyways, so obviously way fucking before Discord, but this is before even all that. My point is though, if you wanted to have like an MSN or like AIM chat thing up, you could, I guess, with your friends. But most people just didn't do that. Obviously, they would like just talk in game, right? And so like when people, I remember the Mats Cap thing like in particular. It was like some people in town were like talking, just chatting, and they were like, "Oh, did you hear? Did you hear about what happened? Did you hear that someone actually got Mats Cap and or like this thing called I don't even know if they called it Mats Cap. I think they called it something else. What did they call it?
It would probably have to do with Genkai because it was the Genkai quest was Genkai 5 was the quest that you had to do to be able to get.
Yeah.
You had to do that on every base job.
Stay there real quick.
Genkai?
No, I'm saying stay there real quick.
Oh. You trying to kill him?
I'm just gonna get him off your ass.
I know that I'll eventually get aggro from like a ghoul if I don't. Oop. I noticed that call for help doesn't work on here.
Does it not? Let's find out.
What happens is it'll say it in the log, but until you die, they won't turn orange. So there's really no point in it. Like you're basically flagging that enemy to not be able to be taken. Like right now on my screen, he's still purple.
Interesting.
He shows up on the thing though as like somebody who needs help.
Shit, this is actually gonna be close. I might have to use perfect dodge. Especially if he does another bomb. I'm gonna give him like a few more hits. There we go. What was I saying? Oh yeah. We're good now. But yeah, no, the Mats Cap thing was interesting because it was just like, it was like a rumor in town. And I think it was someone was like, it was some really rare piece of art. All you heard was like, no one's ever gotten it before. We didn't even know it was an item. Nobody knew it was an item. Square Enix just gave this guy an item because he got level 75 in all of his jobs. They didn't even talk about the fight. And then on top of that, like you would have rumors of like all these different ways that like people are like hacking to like make money, or like, oh damn, yeah, that item, you know, have you ever tried to get this item, or have you ever heard about that item? And then people be like, oh, it's just, yeah, but like, you know, did like, I forgot what they called them, like I think they actually called them treasure hunters, because of the skill. They were like, yeah, but you know, you gotta get past all them first, all that fun stuff. I don't know, it was just interesting, like, you know what I mean? It was
the people who knew how to spawn them.
It was more of like the fact that like the world seemed like more lively, and like it just kind of seemed like more of like, and not to like sound weird about it or anything, but it seemed like it was like kind of like a real place, you know, just because of like all the unique experiences that you could only like, you couldn't, even if you talked about it in like a blog post on like a website or something, you would never understand it until you were in the game, you know. And I imagine World of Warcraft had those experiences. I know Runes, I know all those games did, but I think that was more of just like a product of the time, as opposed to like, well, actually, I take that back. I think it was a product of the time, but also the way the games themselves were laid out. I have a feeling, I know people say like World of Warcraft was like the best and all that fun stuff, but I have a feeling because of the way that Final Fantasy XI was specifically tailored, to be more like a real world like type experience. I have a feeling, I don't know, this is just my opinion. I feel like Final Fantasy XI might have had a few more of those types of experiences. But
yeah, there's definitely stuff that like organic experiences that you like made you feel like a part of the game. There was way more of them in this game than there were in WoW, for sure.
Yeah, because
I remember playing WoW. WoW, you could sit there and just do whatever you wanted all the way up until end game. If you wanted to avoid people, you could. If you wanted a dungeon, you could. But you could play it whichever way you wanted. This game, there was only one way to avoid people, and it was to get Beastmaster in.
Yeah.
Like, only the weirdos did that. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I mean, it's funny too because, like, again, that is kind of like a real world experience, right? It's like most of the time, right? If you want to avoid people, it's like really hard. Like to get a job in real life where you get to avoid, and ironically, they're called jobs, right? Like, or unironically, they're called jobs, I guess. It's interesting because, like, in the real world, it's like, yeah, you do have to work with people, whether you like it or not. So I don't know. I just feel like that's kind of an interesting take on it in an aspect that, I mean, if you watch some of the old like documentaries about it and shit, it's super interesting because it's like even down to like the death penalty. They're like when they created. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can.
It's okay. I'll zone him.
Yeah, he's tough. He's a little tough. Yeah, but even down to like the death penalty that they had for the game. It was literally made because they were just like, they were sitting in a boardroom and they were like, fuck, how do we make people legitimately scared to die in a video game? Oh, well, like the leveling takes forever, so why don't we give them like a fucking experience penalty where they can literally level down? You know what I mean? It's like, that's fucking genius. You know, because, you know, the one thing that sucks, it's like, in a way, it's actually better than like some instances where it's like, you've got to, like you get a piece of armor that gets broken or like you just lose it or something. You know what I mean? It's like that kind of just sucks ass. It's like, you fucking kidding me? I just like spent all that time like doing that, and it feels like you're losing something tangible, right? When it's just like, I feel like whenever you're losing experience points, it's more of just like a feeling of dread, and not that like you're necessarily losing something per se, but it's just like I feel like what they did with, and it's funny because whenever you hear people talk about that, like YouTubers and stuff, they're like, oh my god, I can't, like losing experience points, like, oh my, I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, if you were in Diablo or if you were like in RuneScape, you could literally get all your gear stolen from you.
Gear
like,
stolen, yep.
Like, what do you mean? Like, that's not even that bad. If anything, it just makes sense. Like, okay, death has a penalty. Don't die, right? Like, it's just funny. Like, I don't know. I know Grave goes on and on about that stuff, about, like, people being like coddled and stuff, and I feel like sometimes he goes like on his little tangents and stuff, but I can't help but agree with him when it comes to like MMOs in general. I mean, Final Fantasy 14, it's like when I don't give a fuck when I die. Like, I don't care at all. Sure, I got to spend like 1,000 gil to get my shit repaired. It's like when you get to endgame, it doesn't even fucking matter at that point. It's just like
the only thing that I know that it's, I think it's probably because the original engine had a complete restructure, and they're probably working on a little bit of what of the current engine has, but like things didn't have a leash back in the day. Like, you didn't, if you got far enough away from an enemy on the later game, they would eventually get sick of you or disappear.
Yeah.
They used to still get away from you, but they would walk the whole way back and aggro anybody who went there. And so there were zones like Crawler's Nest or Garleg Citadel and stuff like that where people would train everything up to the front.
Yep, dunes.
And the moment you walk through, you're just dead. You zone in dead.
I mean, that was kind of like, actually, so here's the thing. That's one of those things where it was like, okay, it was kind of annoying, but it was like one of those, like, if you were there for that, it was kind of like funny. It's just like,
oh yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
I was like, you weren't an OG player unless you died at the zone.
Yeah.
And then somebody tried to raise you, and you're just insta dead as soon as you get up.
It's actually hilarious too, because there would be people on auto run, and you would just hear that, like, you wouldn't hear them, obviously, you'd see it in the chat. You just see people yelling, train, train, train. And I remember, like, the first time I ever experienced it, I didn't know what the fuck a train was. So I'm like, a train? Are everybody trying to catch a train right now? I was like, I think it was like in Dunes. It was like the first time I ever experienced that. And like,
yeah, like there's a goblin train coming.
Yeah, then literally goblins came, and I just got like massacred. And I'm like, fuck, I gotta run all the way back from Bastock. And like, yeah, it was like maybe like a little frustrating, but it's like, it's just one of those things where it's like, oh fuck, so you're telling me that like this world is actually like trying to kill me, and these monsters are like all on the monster's side, and like they will gang up on you, and they will like fall, like they want to kill you, like. But you know what I mean? Like there's some realism to it, right? Like
Oh yeah, like once you hit like level 8 or 9 on this game, the enemies get a swift advantage.
Yeah, heavily. Yeah, it's that part of it is funny to me because it's like I don't to some degree I don't understand how people I mean maybe I'm weird, right? I mean I'll acknowledge that. And I understand like people like have grown up and like everybody's got jobs and like we don't always have time, but like I think people forget like unless again maybe I'm weird, maybe I just like playing games because I like playing games, but like I feel like everybody just wants to like rush to endgame and they're just like. But again, it could also, in my opinion, I feel like it's also that conditioning aspect. I feel like the conditioning aspect of always getting that dopamine rush of like, oh cool, I got to like the final. I'm here. I'm at endgame. I beat the final boss. I get this item. I have the top item. I have, you know what I mean? And it's like Final Fantasy 11, at least in this game. RuneScape 2, I played RuneScape. I even fucked around a little bit with EverQuest, but I didn't really get to play it that long. But like, just in general, again, it was never about like a rush to endgame. It was just like you play the game, like, and it's just like a live world. I don't know.
This guy standing around me must be rich, especially this guy Badfish. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. I looked at some of these guys' inventories.
I'm looking at like he's got a cursed Shaller -1 as a crafted item. He makes all this stuff.
Yeah, 7,800,000.
Oh yeah,
that's a fuck ton.
I remember me and like Grave taught me how to make money in the game.
Grave is really fucking smart when it came to making money. One thing I can never take away from him in Final Fantasy 11, that motherfucker knows how to make money.
We decided to create basically this, like when we were on Ashura, we decided to create this like we would get onto Final Fantasy AH website and we would work together. We would find all the Dynamis currencies and all the Alexandrite, and then we would like buy low and sell high, and we would like turn millions in the night.
No, but that's like, but that's what you should do, right? Like that's again,
yeah,
that's
you should. Once you have to have a little bit of capital to start doing it, though.
Yeah, but I mean, like that's again, we're talking about like and they're talking about the realism of this game in particular, right? Like everything was like crafted specifically, and like me and Grave have talked about this because Grave, I don't know how much he's talked to people. Or how many people he's talked to and like their ranks and shit like that, but like he's told me that like he's had conversations with like especially when he like first did the private server, not just him but like everybody that was involved from Darkstar and like doing their private servers. Everybody got a little chat at first apparently from like a rep that like reached out. You know what I mean? Apparently the reps didn't find it like hurt the business at all, because if anything, people were just buying the game, right?
Yeah,
a game that's way been paid off and still generates revenue. So I guess that
it's at a certain point in time, like a cease and desist doesn't make sense.
Well, they still did it, I think, for certain. Like, I don't want to throw Nasomi under the bus right now, but yeah, you know what I'm saying.
I think it has to do though with the method they go about it. If it's word of mouth, it's not a big deal. But if they're advertising it and trying to make money on it,
yeah,
like,
no, I totally understand.
By advertising and yeah.
Well, that was the problem. I think Darkstar advertised. I want to say, I could be wrong. And then there was another one. I want to say, was it Shinra Project? No, Shinra Project was fuck. There was one before Shinra Project that I know Grave. It was Grave and someone else jumped ship, and they created Shinra Project. And then the person that was working with Grave on Shinra Project didn't it just didn't work out or some shit. So then Grave just kind of did it solo for a while. But yeah, no.
Didn't he start to do like a little bit of like even Wings of the Goddess and stuff like that?
He did. He was working on it. Well, from what he told me, I don't know how far he got, but I know he was working on it. The one thing he was saying was that, okay, well, for the next patch updates, like what's going to end up having to happen is that we're going to have to go past 75 because some of that content you just can't do at 75.
Yeah.
Which was fair. I personally thought he could have just lowered the levels if he wanted to, but whatever.
Yeah, you can tune the enemies a little bit. Like I noticed here, they changed all the, like, for some reason they have like slight stat differences. So crabs are like notoriously hard now.
Yeah, they're way fucking harder.
And
you do not do damage to them. Same with crawlers, actually. Crawlers, I was in a party last night, and I shit you not, I was doing like 0 damage half the time, and we were like synced to like level 19.
I wonder if it's just that that Nasomi decides like he doesn't like this kind of enemy, and so he says we're gonna make these camp spots, and then everything else we're gonna be like, eh.
Maybe. I mean, it also, we don't know what goes on in the back end. It could also be possible that maybe there's like some kind of like bug or something that needs to be fixed. So he's like, all right, I'm just going to disincentivize people from doing certain things.
Yeah. That, and so I know that like some of the BCNMs don't work and things like that. And I wonder if in order to, he did those one mobs that look like normal mobs. Yeah.
Well, the dragon, the random dragon.
Yeah, the dragons that look harder. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's interesting.
I wonder if that messed up like some of the enemies in the zones.
Yeah. Whoa, you know what I just realized? I never noticed this before. Holy shit. Dude, you don't see anyone else's shadow except for like a slight thing.
You mean the little circle underneath?
Yeah.
You can change that.
Wait, are my settings off or some shit?
You might have disabled so there's 3 levels of settings for shadows. There's the highest setting shows all people's shadows. But I've noticed that the game has certain locations that the light transitions really weird. One time I was running in the middle of Sandoria and my shadow spun around me. And I was a little like, it almost gave me like nausea because like light doesn't do that. Like it was like the sun was circling around me for some reason.
Interesting. Huh.
Oh, I keep forgetting. Do you know how to go into the menu and change like add-on information? Like I like to do the add-on to make it 60 frames per second.
Oh.
And I always have to manually type it.
Isn't it like /FPS frame rate 60 or 2 or no? Yeah, it's like, oh fuck it, I guess I'll try it right now.
So when you get in game, I know you go add-on load FPS, and then you have to do FPS 1.
Yeah, it's
and
like
then
/FPS frame rate, and then I think it's 1.
Yeah. But I have to do it every time I get into the game, and I forget about it.
Wait, that wasn't it. Maybe it's just /FPS. No, that's still not it. Is it 0? Or it's either 0 or 2 then. Unless Nasomi just doesn't have it, and they're like, fuck it, you're really going old school. Oh shit, we might
Just must be one of those nights.
Yeah, I don't know if they have it.
I might just want to level my low jobs.
Yeah, well, someone asked if you can get to Quiffum. Some like people do level there. Someone asked if I wanted to join the party when I was leaving, but I was like, nah, I'm just go chill for a little bit. It's already like almost 1 in the morning here. And I don't even. We have a hurricane right now. I don't actually know if I have to work tomorrow or not. But
What do you do for work?
I do digital marketing.
Okay.
So like.
I am.
Got.
I'm literally just a insurance agent, and so I work 8:30 to 5 every day at my computer.
Ain't nothing wrong with that, man. It's stable
Nope.
income. Well, wait
Used to go to the office, and once COVID hit, then they're like, "Okay, we've made it so that you can work from home with Amazon Workspace," and we're like, "Cool."
Fuck yeah.
And they go, "You're gonna be working from home till at least September 1st, 2021."
Dude, that's dope. You know, it's funny too. Digital I could like I have like my own workstation like completely. Digital marketing is weird though because I have to do at least what I have to do. I'm like pretty much the sole person for the company I work at. Which they should pay me a lot more, but whatever. Well, I'm in a unique position to where I kind of get like free reign to do shit. So it is what it is for now. But like it's the one thing about the job I hate is that like my boss, he's just like an old school guy. And he fucking hates it when people work from home. It's like, fuck you, dude. I mean, there's certain times when I do have to work from home, and like other people have to work from home too. But like, it's like, dude, it is 2020. We just went through all that COVID shit. Like, what are we doing? Can I just work from home? It'd be so much nicer.
Yeah, my friend works for Allstate, or no, State Farm, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
And anyway, he worked for this small company, or it was like a segment of State Farm, and they have maybe 20, 30 people that work at this office. That they let everybody take equipment home and be able to work from home as long as they had internet there. And then they realized once they started getting people to work from home, people were willing to work different hours that they weren't when they were there. And so they were like, they went from being completely understaffed to being well overstaffed all the time. People were going from working mandatory overtime to like just doing a regular clock, and they go, well, from now on you guys are working from home because it's cheaper for us.
Yeah, no, it's crazy too. So there's this really weird thing that happens when you first start working from home, or you start making your own schedule, right? And like you probably experienced this too, where well, it backfires for some people. But at first everybody goes through this thing where they're like, they feel like they're not working hard enough, and then they like feel like they're gonna like get caught for not working hard enough, and so they end up working actually a little bit more than they probably would have.
Yeah, you work real hard in the beginning, and then you outpace it, and it's hard to keep up with when things get really busy.
Yeah.
Or slow. Yeah.
It is a discipline though. Like I will say not everybody can work from home. For sure. I feel like majority of the time I'm more productive. It just depends. Like there were certain times during COVID where like shit was like really slow. I just like wouldn't hear from anybody for like a fucking while. I'm like, damn, well, as long as these paychecks keep coming in, I'm good. But like, what happens if one day these paychecks just don't come in, right? Like, that gets like a little, it gets like a little weird because I kind of get in like a fuck it kind of mode. And obviously like I'm still working and shit, but like, I just feel like my productivity isn't like as great because it's just like, what's going on? Like, what am I doing? But as long as you're like with people where you have like meetings and shit and like you just kind of keep each other accountable, it's not that bad.
Yeah, that's what my opinion of it is like, especially since my department, they decide to have like a 9:15 meeting, so like I could get away with like technically sleeping a little too long for my shift because my shift is 8:30 to 5. But if I don't make it to that meeting, then I get like, hey, where were you? What are you doing? What are you like?
Yeah, no, same. I mean, normally what everybody does, to be fair, too, most people, what ends up happening is they just fucking wake up right before the meeting, fucking go to the meeting, and they fucking pass the fuck out right afterwards, and they fucking get whatever work it is done, unless they have something timed that day. But I think too, it also depends, right? So like if you have an urgent job, like for me, I'm kind of like a night owl, though I can get up like really early. I can get like on a schedule. But I just function better at night personally. That's just kind of how I've always been. I don't know.
Same here, yeah.
I don't know if that's just because of like college and shit. Like I would just fucking study all night.
I wouldn't, like, for me, I would say that it's never been that way, because even when I was a kid, my parents always had the hardest time getting me to go to sleep on time.
Yeah, same.
And then I would always like want to stay in bed forever, like where a lot of kids were waking up really early and wanting to play. I was like, nope, I'm good with sleeping.
Yeah, no.
And then eventually, like by middle school, I was staying up and watching like Letterman and all the like late night shows and stuff like that, because that's what I like to do. I like to stay up late and
yeah, same.
maybe watch a movie on TV.
Yeah, that's always been like the thing to me. I like nighttime. Don't get me wrong. Like it's like a double-edged sword for me, right? Because obviously, like the later you stay up, the later you end up sleeping in. And I hate, one thing I do actually hate is I hate feeling like I've wasted an entire day.
Yeah.
But goddamn, do I hate the morning. Like if I could just like plan it perfectly, because it's weird. I feel like whenever, for at least for me, like in my sleep schedules, it's very rare that like I can just pull like a 9:30 like wake up every single day. For some reason my body just would not. Like let's say I had like the perfect schedule where I could just do that, or I could just do that and like wake up at either like 9:30 or like 10 or something. For some reason my body just won't. It's like either fucking 12 or like it's like 7:30. Anytime in between that, it's like does not work.
I had a job where my shift was like 12:30 to 8:30 ish, maybe 9 if I worked as a salesperson with like Verizon.
Mm-hmm.
And that felt perfect for the longest time. And they're like, you like this shift? Like I like to work the early one so that I'm off by like 3. And I was like, yeah, but you feel like so tired. I'd want to go sleep right after I got off work.
Yeah, fuck that. Yeah, but I've never understood that. Like that's such a real statement right there, because I've known so many people that say that, oh yeah, we have the entire day. Like, bitch, you are sleepy after that shit. What are you talking about? Like, how are you just gonna not go to sleep after that?
I have one friend, and I think it's mostly because she's depressed a lot, but she will a lot of times stop messaging me around 9 or 10 at night, and I'm like, hey, where'd you go? Like, and she'll have fallen asleep already because she took like melatonin or like Tylenol PM or something, and then she sleeps like 12 hours a night, gets up at like 7, and then is awake for the day. And I'm like, gosh, like people love the sun way too much.
I don't know if I could do 12 hours, because like if I sleep too long, I definitely feel like shit.
Yeah, my back starts to hurt, or
yeah,
like,
you start feeling real old real quick. But the thing is too is like I rarely do good on like 8 hours of sleep. I feel like I function more of like a 6. Like if I'm getting good sleep, it's like 6 or 7.
6 or 7, yeah. If I get 3 or less, I can manage, but I am mad. Like I am grumpy and not cool. 4, it's like I wish I could have stayed in bed like a little bit longer.
Yeah, like if I got ran over by a car, I wouldn't be too mad because I knew I'd go to sleep. But like 3, I know that 3 and less hours. And the fucked up thing too is when you have 3 or less hours of sleep, you know exactly, like you're getting pre-mad because you know exactly how you're going to end up feeling. And it's like I'm already getting pissed getting to that point.
Oh yeah. that was me last night because my roommate, she has Mondays and Tuesdays off, and she likes to randomly invite people over and loves to bump music like really loud. She's like 27 or 28, and so she would just bring a ton of people over, and they're playing beer pong and whatnot, and I'm like, I know that you have like kind of half of a house to yourself, but you're still bleeding into my half like right now.
Yeah.
And she would pass out early, and her friends, some of them I didn't even know, were like they're eating food and whatnot, and at like 4 in the morning, and I'm like, dude, seriously, I haven't even fallen asleep yet.
Yeah, no, fuck that.
I can't fall asleep because I hear them.
Me and my roommate are on tight. Funny enough, I actually have a female roommate who's like around that same age too. No, we're both on the same page with that shit because I mean, she's normally pretty good, but you know, her like I think one of the more important things about like having roommates in general, obviously, right, is just open communication, and because you really do have to treat it like a fucking relationship, 100% if you want that shit to work out.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, no, it's when it comes to like shit like that, like friends like disrespecting like the house or something, I crack that because even my friends, like if my friends are being like little shitters or something, I'm like, nah, fuck off with that shit.
My rule was always like, hey, we have like a specific house time during the weekday when we just cut it off. Like there's like we have to have people either in a quiet mode in their own rooms, whatever.
Yeah.
And not like everybody out and about. And then that was for a while. That was like 1 or 2 in the mornings, probably still okay. Because I'm fine with 6 or 7 hours of sleep. That's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, lately it's just been like she'll party on the weekends with us, and then she'll want to keep partying, and I'm like, this is gonna be a rough life for you.
As long as she pays the rent, fuck it.
She does.
Yeah, no, that's how I see it. That's how I see it too. Because it's like, honestly, if I do have friends over, every once in a while I have friends over like on the weekday, but like we never like stay like in the living room or something. We either go like outside or like, because like so I have like an office in here, and so I do like audio and stuff too every now and then. So I've got like sound panels, and so I've like specifically made sure that if I ever have to like make noise at night, it doesn't like bleed through. But it's like I would never like go in the living room and like cause like a fucking ruckus and shit. And even still, like we don't go that late.
Yeah, and like last night, it was the annoying thing for me was just some of the people that got invited didn't come over right before she fell asleep, so there were still people showing up, and her boyfriend, or actually ex, but he still kind of hangs around all the time.
Yeah.
Like he was kind of helping monitor it, and then because I have 2 roommates technically, I have another girl that usually gets off work at about midnight, 1-ish.
I bet she was happy about all that.
Oh yeah, like she does one of 2 things: either she's upset that there's something going on again, or she is like, fuck it, I'll hang out with you guys.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, we'll know right away because she'll either go into her room or not. And if that's the case, I'm usually like, okay, now it's my turn to call the shots. Or I'm the oldest one anyway, so and I pay the most because I have the most part of the house.
Yeah.
But I'll call myself house dad and just be like, all right, nope, we're done. Well, like,
yeah, get the fuck out of my house.
Yeah. But I keep like, I'll open up the front door and somebody's outside smoking and talking really loudly, and I'm like, dude, you want the cops getting called on us? Like, just I always keep telling people we have a smoking area out back if you need to. I don't smoke, but one of our roommates does. You have to go to the back to smoke. it doesn't make as much noise back there. It doesn't echo into the street.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's... Yeah, I'll be honest with you. Personally, I wouldn't know how I'd feel about, like, my roommate passing out and, like, her boyfriend just, like, watching people come over. But...
Yeah, like...
I would have a pretty hard talk with her on that one, but...
Well, the issue is she'll start way too early in the day, and then she'll fall asleep around, like, 10 after she invited him over at, like, 8. So they've been over for a couple hours, and then she passes out, and then she wakes up again at, like, 1 or 2, and then wants to keep going.
Oh,
it's like,
okay, I see.
No, you need to, like, prepare for your night out.
Yeah, what the hell?
And then at least somebody who's paying rent here is the one calling the shot. Because all I wanted to do that night was just play games and then go to bed.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. So, like, when my girlfriend comes over and shit, like, I don't know. I'm really, like, that's, like, one of those things. It's like, all right, dude. It's like, to my roommate, I'm like, if it's your, like, if you want to have your friends over, that's dope. But, like, I mean, like, if you aren't really there, then, like, they can't really fucking be here. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing. Like, I felt like if their friend is, like, staying the night, like, that's one thing, right? And it's like, okay, like, that's, like, whatever. I feel you. Like, that person's passing out on the couch. Like, cool. But, like, if you're gonna invite, like, 5 of your fucking friends over, then go pass the fuck out, like, fuck them. That's how I feel about that.
That's one of the big things that really bugs me, yeah.
But, damn.
I think I might just go back to Sandy and
yeah,
level Thief.
I think are you playing tomorrow or no?
Yeah, probably.
So I might have a hurricane tomorrow, in which case I might end up being home, in which case my power might conveniently be out, so I can't do anything. Quote unquote.
If I do, it depends on how much sleep I get tonight, but I might be on earlier.
Yeah, word. Like I said, if I can wing it, I might be on earlier. But I think honestly, I think for sure, because there's a shit ton of flooding. We have like this,
I heard, yeah.
Yeah, we have like there's this bridge in Tampa that's like pretty it's not the Skyway Bridge that goes to St. Petersburg, but like which is like the famous one in Florida. But there's like this other bridge that goes from St. Pete to Tampa, and it's like still relatively high off the fucking ocean, or the Gulf, I should say. And I was watching like a feed of it earlier, and the fucking waves are crashing into this bitch, and like there's cars on it still, and like trying to drive off, and I'm like, fuck that shit, like, hell no.
Yeah, I'd stay put. Like, I wouldn't go on
and
that
it's
freeway.
like a long bridge too, dude. It's like once you go on, like, you're committed to like a good, like, any depending on the traffic, anywhere between 10 to 15 minutes, like.
I've seen another road like that was, I think it's in like Sweden or Norway or something, where it goes along the coast, and sometimes they're driving in a foot or two of water while water's splashing up at it from the coast, and I was like, that's stupid.
They have something like that. So, dude, the most freaked out I've ever been in my entire life was so like I don't really know too much like my dad's side of the family, but like my aunt, she wanted to do like a family reunion. She's got like a little bit of fucking cash. So she invited everybody to, I don't know if you know where this place is. It's called Outer Banks, South Carolina.
I've heard of it, yeah.
Yeah. It's one of the more well-known spots in South Carolina, I guess, from what I've been told. But like, anyways, to get out there, dude, so Outer Banks are like, I forgot how many fucking miles off of South Carolina. They're like, it's far as fuck. Dude, the bridge to get out there is like, it's like, you might as well be floating on top of the water. And I'm like sitting there thinking, because there's like there were like storms and stuff too, and I'm like, wait, what the fuck? You're sitting here telling me we gotta, and like I remember my dad was joking about it. He's like, yeah, we should probably haul ass and try to get to the island before a storm comes, because it's like it's a 2-lane road. You have one way and going and one way coming back, and like I swear to God, it from my little kid eyes, and I'm a little kid. It looked like the little thing was like maybe a foot and a half or 2 feet above the water, if that. And I'm like, this looks like some fucking ghetto ass shit that we're about to fucking embark on. Like, I was not feeling comfortable at all. I was like, this sucks. But yeah, that's what that shit reminded me of tonight, except for the bridge that I'm talking about in Florida is like a good solid like 20 feet above the water.
Yeah. And I'm in a valley technically with like we're along a river, and the river is about like an hour from the coast.
Mm-hmm.
And the Pacific coast, if we ever get the big quake, like the 8-point or 9-point quake off the coast, we will most likely get a tsunami up the Columbia, and it will literally wipe our town out.
That's fucking sketch. It's like some New Orleans shit.
Mm-hmm. And we flood every now and then, but it's not that bad. It's like usually the rivers get high, but it's normally runoff flood. It's not coming up from the ocean. It's like usually the mountains are melting their runoff, and then we've got like some ridiculous amount of like 7 inches of rain or some stupid like that.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes, so everybody talks about Florida getting a shit ton of rain. I feel like Florida just floods because it's just, we're like super, like, you can dig fucking 5-10 feet and you'll hit water.
Yeah.
Like, the ground just fucking doesn't hold water very well. But I feel like up north, like in valleys and shit, I feel like, dude, the water you guys get, it's just like, I feel like the rain you guys get is just like hard, like you guys just get like fucking bombarded. I don't know if it's because the elevation or what.
Well, yeah, because if there's a whole lot of my mind just went blank, but if there's a whole lot of clouds that develop and they go over the mountains, they instantly start drenching on the mountains, and they'll do one of two things.
Yeah.
They'll either create runoff in the rivers, or they will like snow and then cause them to have a really large snowfall. So like you can look up at any given time during the year and see at least 4 peaks near us that are always covered in snow. And then during the winter, the higher elevations always have snow, and then like sometimes we may get snow everywhere. But during the like I'd say February-ish and also fall, we have flood season, and that is when rain just really starts to come out and kick our ass.
Yeah, no, that's that's interesting. I never thought about the fact that like the clouds literally have to run into the mountain, which would obviously make the mountain fucking drenched. That makes so much sense though.
It's like once they receive any resistance at all, like rain starts to come down.
Yeah, no, I mean it makes sense. I mean clouds are just fucking droplets of water. That's all they are.
Mm. And sometimes if you just get like a current of wind that comes through, then you'll have like a surge of rain. Or what's weird is we even get tornadoes up here, like occasionally. It's not too often, but I'm shocked when it happens.
Yeah. The only other fucked up thing too is we've had like tornado warnings all day. And and so it's flash floods, tornado warnings, and then when you have tornado warnings, you just have to assume that there's going to be water spouts anywhere near the water. Like on the Skyway Bridge, it's fucking crazy too because I've seen there's been video you can YouTube this shit too actually, you look up like water spout skyway bridge, you'll see fucking you'll see like there's one video in particular where there's like a semi truck and this water spout comes and literally just like fucking tears this semi truck in half. Because normally what ends up happening is like the second they hit the ground, they start like dissolving right away. But like this one lasted long enough with like just enough power to completely like just fucking tear through this thing. And like it's just nuts because it's like you see how like the water spout, and it's just fucking water and wind, right? But like you see how that bitch gets like just literally just like ripped. You're like, what the fuck would that do to me? And like it's crazy. Especially like if you're on a boat or something, you're done.
Yeah, because that wind is pushing it 200 plus miles an hour, and you're thinking about that being water particles that like now become super lethal.
Yeah, no, it's fun. It's, well, I don't know if funny is the right word, but it's for sure fucking interesting.
You're gonna pressure wash the side of anything.
Yeah, that's the thing, because everybody thinks like in a water spout you just get sucked up and you're like Dorothy or something in the Wizard of Oz, and it's just like a grand old time. But it's like, hell the fuck no, it's not. You fucking get your ass torn up. But all right, well, fuck. It's past 1. I think I'm going to call it because I don't know if we're gonna get any parties. But
yeah, I just got a party invite too. I'm like, all right, I guess I'll join it. But yeah,
yeah, go ahead, join it, level up. Honestly, if you can get up to 20 or so, we can just say fuck it and go to like Quiffum tomorrow, or any other day, whatever. I don't really care.
Yeah, I'll try to tonight. I'll try to also level my sub job too.
Oh yeah. Well, that one should be relatively easier. If anything, you can just tell them like, hey, hold on a second, I'll come back. You know what I mean? With my sub job.
Okay.
Word.
And it looks like they're at L10, so I'll make my way there. All right.
Word. All right, brother. Well, thanks for hanging out.
Yeah.
It was it's actually fun. It's funny. I don't know. It's like most people that I've met like through Grave or like from that server, everybody seems to be like pretty cool. I think maybe I've only met one person that like was a little testy, to say the least. But
yeah,
I always get along with people really well.
Yeah, I mean, I get along with most of them. Hojo was probably the only one who's like a little, like he could get irritated and mouthy and stuff. Yeah.
I want to say, I think maybe it was that person. I think maybe it was him.
His name's Kirk. Yeah, like real name.
I forgot who it was. I was like, I swear to God, it was kind of funny to me. So like every now and then when it comes to like comedy, sometimes I'll do like awkward things just because I think they're funny. And I was like, I think I was going like, like clearing my throat or something. It was like I think it was like January or February or something. It was like cold out, and in Florida when it's cold, it's also like super moist. Like you're gonna get like a little cold or some shit, right? So I was just clearing my fucking throat so I didn't sound like a retard when I talked in the mic. And I forgot, one of them just got like so pissed. He was like, he actually got so triggered. He was like, can you stop fucking like clearing your throat? He's like, it's fucking disgusting. And then it's just like, I knew everybody else was like, whoa, like what the hell? And so I just like stayed silent for like a good like 15 seconds. And I was like, okay. And everybody was like, dude, you like, would you, like, that's not nice, don't bully him. And I was like, I just like played the it was pretty funny. I don't know, I like counter trolling if shit like that happens. But
yeah, it
was I don't know, I noticed he was like, I don't want to say it was the same person, but it was just hilarious. It was that same person though who used to like on average get a little triggered over like small things.
Yeah. I think he fought with Grave for a bit because of something that he was doing. So before Grave started the private server, we figured out like he got a bunch of hacks for when we were on Ashura, and we would literally like we could go anywhere and everywhere and he took me to a place. I think he did this on his private server too. Like he warped me to Lemuria, above, like in sea above the palace.
Oh shit!
And he took me all the way up into the top of the sky, as high as we could go before it clipped. And we would look down at things, and I was like, "This is so cool." But yeah, like it was ridiculous the type of stuff that we were able to do. But I guess Hojo wanted to keep hacking. He wanted to keep doing whatever he wanted, like being able to run at whatever speed he wanted to do, and he still had the programs active, and Grave knew it, and Grave was like, "Dude, I'm gonna stop you and like penalize your character if you keep doing this, because you're kind of ruining the flow of what we've got started here."
Yeah.
And then they got in a fight over that.
I think I remember that actually. It's kind of funny. Yeah, you know the one place. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, yeah. I was gonna say my original character that when me and Grave became friends was named Ananias, and it was on in his link shell on Ashura, and we used to duo, trio, or like have small groups in Abyssia all the time and just take things down, and we multi-boxed too.
That's funny. I always told Grave this one area, which I know they kind of concluded it in Chains of Promathia, but like I always thought it was a really hugely missed opportunity. Was the fucking area that they show in the first cutscene at the beginning of the goddamn game.
Oh yeah, Tavnasia.
Yeah, but like the actual city, like.
Yeah, they should have had a broken city.
At the very least, like they could have done something like they could have easily done something like, oh, okay, it's like a broken city, right? And then like once you get to a certain point, like it could have been an instance dungeon, right? Like the broken city itself was like an instance dungeon, and then it's like they could have, after you beat COP, right? They could have turned that like maybe through like Treasures of Adargon or like so they could have done something with that shit. Like they could have turned that into like a real city. I feel like, and especially and another thing too about that, because it's like at the beginning of the game, right? That's like the whole point of it is like they go back to that area, and it's like they stand over the cliff with like a million adventurers, seeming like they're gonna take that bitch back.
Yeah, that's what I got the impression of, and everybody when the game started thought it was Sandoria. They're like, "Oh, this is they were at Sandoria," and I was like, "No, they weren't."
Yeah, that cliff cliff's no joke.
And then when it was released, when COP was released, I was like, "That's where it is. That I hope they take us there. I hope we go there."
Yeah, that was because Grave told me, he's like, well, so here's the interesting thing, because you guys were talking about the warps, right? I remember Grave telling me when he was coding that shit, he was like, it seems like, based off what he told me, that there was a plan to do something with that, because there was a bunch of spots in that city, if you actually like teleported all the fuck way over there, that were like pretty developed.
Yeah, they had
train and shit, like
buildings that were like actually programmed in.
Yeah, no, and there was like supposedly like a train or something too, that Grave always talked about. And it's like super interesting because it's like, I don't know, like these are little things like that, and I know this is like a headcanon maybe type thing, but like my hope is that if they do decide to do Final Fantasy, well now, okay, so it is interesting. They
11 mobile.
Yeah, but well, they renamed it, so it's not mobile anymore.
Yeah, it's 11 R.
So
yeah,
like,
so
obviously
it's basically
remake. Yeah, which is dope. Like, don't get me wrong, because I think
they also showed screenshots that there's two different scales of quality of it. There's like the mobile quality, and then there's the console quality, which has like way higher resolution and way
I'm
more
cool with that.
detail.
Well, it's also built on Unreal Engine 4, I think.
Yeah.
Which
so it's scalable.
Yeah. So I'm cool with that, right? Like, because obviously, here's the thing. I think if Square Enix is smart, like, although to be fair, I actually don't have too much. At this point in the game, I don't know how I don't know if those words hold up, but the like RuneScape Classic on mobile did really good, right? Now, how the fuck would you do that for Final Fantasy 11? I don't know. Maybe you just get like a less experience. Maybe you have to do like some kind of tab trigger targeting, some shit. I don't know. But I'm also like, regardless of however they develop the game, if it is a remake, right? I do hope that is like one thing that I hope somebody in that company realizes they fucked up on, is that they fucking code that area and they make it something. Like, yeah, like that was I don't understand. I just don't.
Well, I think by that point in time, if the game is, what they're going to do is they're going to gauge, is the game successful? Is it going to make us something? And then they can probably expand it beyond where it already was.
Yeah. Because you know what they could do too? Like, well, okay, so I haven't played retail in like forever. And I wanted to look up the storyline for the new shit that came out.
It's dumb. It's so dumb.
Is it?
It's like okay, if I could sum it up, it's the equivalent of doing like rank 1 to 1.5. Like you do 3 quests where you go into Zerun Mines, and then you do 1 outside of there, and then the part was done. And then they released chapter 2, which is another 2 little cutscenes.
Oh, really?
And they're 5 minutes max, maybe. So it must take a long time to develop one cutscene with their program, seeing that they have like 2 or 3 people.
Well, also too, yeah, that would make sense, but also too, if they're running on that, if they're trying to replicate that engine, right, it would be the same thing. And like, well, maybe I can't help but wonder if there's some kind of crossover. Like, for instance, right, like, like even now, it doesn't matter how good your machine is. If you go to download Final Fantasy 11, like, it takes a fucking while. Like, it blows my mind how long it takes in 2020 to download that fucking game. But it's like, it could just be the engine. Like, it could be an engine problem, right? It could just be that like working with that shit is so fucking much of a pain in the ass.
Oh, they said it was too, because they said that they had to. There were 2 people that actually had manuals of how it worked, and even then they didn't know how to really operate it. So it took them like a month or 2 to figure out how to even, take a certain character model and put them in a certain vector space and have them do this, and then for text to trigger and different things like that. Like, there was all this scripting, and much less to have any animations thrown into a cutscene is apparently way harder than it needs to be.
Well, yeah, because even still, like the pre-rendered, well, not just like the pre-rendered, but the animations that are available per character, right? I would imagine are already super fucking limited. And so then putting something in that 3D space, and then even having to make new characters, right, with all new custom garments and like shit like that, like, yeah, I would imagine that's probably a big fucking clusterfuck.
And apparently it's something to do with eggs, because I didn't go all the way through it, but it just doesn't sound like it's like there's mysterious eggs that are being found in different places, and I was like, oh wow, that, I'm not really hyped about this idea yet.
Is that like the Gulka? Because weren't don't Gulka like fucking, they're like reborn or some shit?
Yeah, I like the Gulka story type.
That's what that sounds like. It sounds like they're talking about like Gulka.
I think that the first person you talk to is a Gulka too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I saw like the very beginning of it. Like, I forgot what I was doing. I didn't get to watch it. Which is, I thought they fucking did that storyline already though.
Well, they talk about the rebirth of the Galka because you so there's
you go to the desert or some shit and like
Altepa Desert was the
Yeah.
original location, but then they also have another place in Ottawa Chasm.
Okay.
Where when you scale up the side of that wall and then you can drop something down in that same one they can do the rebirth there too.
Yeah, that's interesting.
The primary one is the one that's it's Revelation Rock in Altepa Desert.
Yeah.
They make their pilgrimage and then once they do they kind of the way that they describe it is kind of the way that I imagine Native Americans or like Eskimo Americans, where they push them off on a thing of ice, and then eventually the next person that's born looks like them,
and they just come back. Yeah, it's like some spiritual journey. It's like you literally have to die. From what I remember, I don't remember much, but I'm pretty sure that's the gist of it.
I think when they talked about it in Chains of Promethea, they would literally jump into the chasm that you drop the little thing down into, and then they would just wake up somewhere else, like as a child, and only one of them had the memories of 200 years of the past. The Tail Keeper.
I mean, it could be. Maybe they could. Someone, especially if I imagine the people who are working on that are like, it's gotta be somewhat of a passion project for them, unless they just got fucking demoted or some shit and the boss doesn't like them. He's like, hey, you're working on Final Fantasy 11, buddy. You know what I mean, like type of shit like that. But I mean, I would imagine then, I guess maybe it would make sense for them to be like, you know what, they might have some inside scoop on Final Fantasy 11R, and on top of that, well, so here's another thing, right? And you and I guess, yeah, you and I can talk about it because you've done all of Final Fantasy 14. They opened up Pandora's box pretty fucking hard with Shadowbringers, and I have a feeling I know what they're gonna do, because they're kind of hinting at that with Final Fantasy 16 as well. This whole concept of like different worlds and shit. You know, because here's the thing, right? We know that they're not going to get rid of 14 per se. And Square Enix has to see, like, they just have to know, right? They have to see the success of WoW Classic and RuneScape, old school RuneScape, and be thinking to themselves like, damn, that's a really, really easy piece of the pie to grab. And the only reason I can think of as to why they wouldn't do that is because of the engine that it was on, right? Like, it's got to be such a pain in the ass to go back and go through and do all that they're just like, it's literally not even worth the money to go and do it. Let alone if they could do it, right? Maybe they can't. It's really possible. Maybe they can't do it. So like maybe like the whole Final Fantasy 11R is the route they're going. I honestly would not be surprised if they just did some shit where it's like, all right, well, Final Fantasy 11, well, because okay, so here's another thing too, and they've kind of hinted at this, right? I forgot what part of Final Fantasy 14. There's like something. There's first
they did it in Eureka, that in 14 they hinted that 11 was historical for 14.
Yeah, so that's what I was getting at. Yeah, so I couldn't remember where it was, but it was Eureka. They did that, but also too when they did the crossover event, right? The whole thing is like, oh, there's that girl from the land of the East, right? She doesn't really know how she got here. What was it? It wasn't Prishy. It wasn't fucking
Iroha.
Yeah. She's like, damn, I don't know how I got here. And then, like, but she got there, right? And there's also this whole thing of them wanting to like expand their services, right? Because sometimes they're going to do work on Final Fantasy 14, but then there's downtime and then they lose subscriptions, right? Well, it's like, how do you keep people in that environment from like an economical standpoint? oh shit, well let's put out Final Fantasy 11R. Honestly, what we could do, we don't have to spend as much money rewriting all these fucking storylines. We could probably just, we could probably save time and just copy most of the same shit over, and then redo some of the expansions and shit as it comes out. Eventually, we'll have to make new content, but for now, we can just kind of get by with like doing the minimum. And then what we can do is like we can also in that time period work on upgrading 14 to like, Final Fantasy 14 2, right? Because I feel like they're not going to get rid of that game. I don't know why, but I feel like that game's not going anywhere.
The last cutscene in 5.3 has me wondering how they're going to pursue the world building after 6.0.
Yeah, because 6.0 inevitably, what is it? They have like one more Ashen to kill?
No, they're done. They finished all the Unsundered as of 5.3.
Wasn't there like one more or something?
Elidibus was the last to die. So now the person that like they introduced here is like one of the peons. He's happy because now he's got the powers of an Ascian, but he doesn't have the requirement to go work and do their bidding. So he's just gonna like have fun, like create chaos where he can, and exploit his powers.
So we have him. We have what's his name?
Xenos.
Yeah, Xenos. And then was there one more?
I
think that's it, right?
Well, there's the whole. So right now, coming back into it, there's all the stuff that's going on in the. It's all fights with the Garlean Empire. Like
that's what I'm saying. That arc's got to conclude at some point.
Yeah, and what's going on is it's going to be a struggle for power because Varus died.
Yep.
Xenos killed him, and everybody thinks it, or the rumors are out that it wasn't Xenos and that it was both Estinian and Gaius came in and they were seen at the throne room.
Yeah. Honestly, I kind of liked having the trusts with. Okay, so here's a little hot take, right? I hate trusts in Final Fantasy 11, but I kind of, sort of liked trusts in Final Fantasy 14 because it felt like a one-player experience for me. I also played it on PlayStation, so that probably didn't help. But like, I kind of like that, and especially because like some of those characters you do get way more development with. Like it'd just be kind of cool to like have them and like pick them out, and like I honestly like if they could implement it so that way you could just like have them in your party at all times and just like level them too, and like pick their ability, like that would be sick. I think that would actually be sick, because then you're taking like an MMO, but you're also like you're having like the proper elements of a single player, but whatever. It seems to me like 6.0 is like wrapping shit up. I don't know what they're
that's all that Yoshi P said that's what he was on board to be director producer over. So after that point in time he'll still be producer, as in charge of that whole development team, but because of 16 and the other projects that are going on in there, he's going to do a lot less hands-on with 14, and then it's going to be all the people that are left in charge, and where they take the world from there is up to them. But also they don't know if they're going to stay with the same engine.
Well, yeah, because that's the thing. Like, what are they using? Isn't it Unreal 3? Is that they're using?
I think so.
Or yeah, okay. So that's what I'm saying. So like Unreal 5 is coming out, right? So it's like, or has already come out. So it's like they're two engines behind. I mean, that's
and then there's also Luminous Engines, which is terrible, and that's what Avengers got released on.
Dude, so this is what has me worried, right? So Final Fantasy Union came out with a thing a while back, and they were talking about how Final Fantasy Remake, they're fucking up, right? they're trying to sell Final Fantasy VII Remake and at like $60 a pop, right? Just for the base game.
Mm-hmm.
However, I think they made like 300 million on the game, something like that. But development cost was like 148 million, not even including like marketing and all that shit. So really, it wasn't like that lucrative. And obviously, like they have to fund like other shit in that meantime, and then it's like, okay, well, we got to pay people for all this time. Like, yeah, like you gotta definitely have to do like really well. But it's just the development costs are what's killing them. Fucking that Avengers game lost.
Oh yeah, they took a huge hit there,
dude. But this happens like, dude, Square Enix, like they need to figure this shit the fuck out, dude, because like it's like every 5 years or something that company almost fucking tanks. Like, dude, they lost 40. They're negative 48 million on that game. Like, fuck, dude. That's. And like, here's the thing too, is like now they're saying like, okay, for the Final Fantasy VII Remake, if that's how much, if we got to sell it at $60 a pop, right? Not even including all the physical merchandise, like you got to stock up on that beforehand, so that way your supply chain is good. All that bullshit, you got to pay people to develop that. Like, they really didn't make that much on the fucking game, which is surprising because it did sell really well, and it just, I mean, I don't know. I feel like people aren't gonna like this take, but like, I feel like the $60 price tag just shouldn't work for that. Like, I get it. Like, it sucks that games are getting like more expensive and shit like that, but like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm willing to pay an extra like, think about it. If you're selling that many products, right? An extra $5 like will go a long fucking way, right?
Oh yeah.
You know, an extra $10 will go. I'd be willing. Like, I wouldn't even think about it. Like, extra $10. Like, yeah, it's fucking annoying, but like, whatever. Like, that will go a long fucking way. So it's like,
for
man,
sure.
Yeah, it's like, man, if I don't have to. That was the cool thing about Final Fantasy VII Remake, dude. They didn't put any DLC out for the game. Like, fuck yes, dude. Hell yeah. You're telling me I like actually. I mean, to be fair, it wasn't a complete game because it's part 1, right? But like, you're telling me I got like at least a complete experience for like, and it's like a premium experience. Finally, like, when was the last time we had that shit happen? Like,
yeah,
for real.
Like 15 was in development hell for so long, and then even then, it never really recouped its money by itself. The way that they made their money back for 15 was with freaking the mobile game that was based on it.
And all the DLC.
That game,
you had to pay for the game in 6 fucking parts.
Yep.
Like, are you shitting me? You're telling me I got, and the same thing, dude. Don't get me started on Kingdom Hearts fucking 3. I hate that goddamn game. Nomura can suck my left nut.
Yeah. After 2, it's just gone downhill really bad.
I mean, here's the thing. I thought some of the stuff was cool. Like, I get it. Like, their trope was, okay, we're gonna put our games on like all different consoles, and that's how we're gonna make our money because then we get residuals, right? Okay, fair enough. Fine, cool. I get it. Sweet. What really started to trigger me though was the mobile game because they like.
Oh yeah.
Dude, and it was like super noticeable. The second that fucking mobile game came out with all those transactions, like the entire story became based on the fucking mobile game. Like,
and the shitty part was the mobile game had the weakest story of all of them. Like, it didn't, like, the games themselves, they spent a lot of time and effort to do that. With the mobile game, they just shoveled something out, and now they're hinging the entire story
on
the mobile game information, and you're like, that's dumb.
It's so lame. And like, not only just that, but like, dude, Kingdom Hearts 3 was just a fucking ad the entire time. The majority of the story content happened the last 3 hours of the game. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, dude, we waited this goddamn long, and you're telling me you guys literally did a fully re-rendered scene of Let It Go. Are you fucking shitting me? Like,
yeah,
I paid top dollar for this shit. And then we get the DLC, and it's basically all the same shit we did again with things that you can totally tell were strategically plucked out of the game for no fucking reason. And like, they're just small things that, like, you know, it's like, it made no sense for it to not be in there.
I think it's honestly because Nintendo was losing control of it. and Disney loves
Well,
to
you
milk.
mean Sony.
Or I'm sorry, Square Enix was
Well,
losing
them too,
control
yeah, Square Enix.
of it as a priority, like because they weren't even able to put Final Fantasy characters in it anymore. They're
Well,
like
they were, but that's like a whole. This is where Nomura pisses me off a little
yeah,
bit. Like
yeah,
it's
Nomura
clear
is
as,
an idiot by that.
yeah, it's clear as day. He was just like triggered, right? Like, dude, like that whole like the DLC, that final cutscene was literally a copy paste of Versus 13. It is it is shot for shot Versus 13. I'm like, and not so that's another thing that pissed me off too. It's like you're spending all this goddamn time on that Verum Rex, like all like that in mass that insane. And I know they would have had to spend a fuck ton of money creating that pre-render cutscene because that shit was no joke. I'm like, why didn't? Oh my fucking god! Why didn't we get the fucking like story content? Like why was this money not spent on like the actual game? Like, god damn it! Like, what was Kyrie doing that entire fucking time? We know she got her ass beat up at the end. Like, what was fucking like what was everybody doing? Like, dude, we didn't even go to Hollow Bastion. We didn't or Radiant Garden. We had one hub world. We know Traverse Town is back. What the fuck happened to that? Like what? You know what I'm saying? Like, we know the Dream Eater was a summon. Like, the fuck happened to that? They referenced that in Dream Drop Distance. Like, what happened to all those other worlds that like? I don't know, man. That shit triggered me pretty goddamn hard. And it's just like, it's super stupid because it's like, I mean, I don't know. I could give him the benefit of the doubt and just be like, yeah, he just did that because Disney just wanted to take full reign of it. And maybe he thought that was the best course of action. But like, I don't know, man. Some of that shit in there is a little suspicious.
Yeah, and the thing is, I thought that the Final Fantasy characters did help give it like a grounding for like being a role playing game, where that was kind of the idea was that it was making these Disney worlds like a role playing game type thing, and you're fitting into the story.
Well,
but then they took it to be more of like the action, side of things, and then at that point in time they're like, no, we'll just make it a reenactment of every Disney movie we've ever done.
Well, because that was the cool thing, right? And there's actually so there's a couple things to say about that. Like, for one, there was an interview. I remember I watched it on fucking G4 back in the day. There was an interview with one of the Kingdom Hearts developers, and he was like, yeah, he's like, the cool thing about Kingdom Hearts is that like like it's Disney interactive, but like basically what you're doing, you're playing through the Disney world, and like now your actions are part of that Disney, like your actions are part of that, right? Like your outcome should still relatively be the same, but like your actions like play a role in it, as opposed to just like literally being an ad for the fucking movie. And on top of that, so after Nomura got kicked off of Versus 13 and it became Final Fantasy 15, it was like right after, like I forgot, someone lined up the time frame. It was like right after that, Nomura was quoted in an interview saying, you know, I don't think Kingdom Hearts needs Final Fantasy characters anymore. I think it can hold its own. Like like when there's like little pieces of evidence and shit like that just like line up like perfectly, it's kind of clear that like he was a little butthurt on that.
And he was probably mad at Dad.
Yeah, and like the thing is too is it's like I think it's pretty clear now too, especially if you look. Well, if you watch like the original secret ending to Kingdom Hearts 1, right? That Versus 13 was like kind of, they did a lot of the same shit, right? They were like running up buildings and like had like fucking swords and shit flying everywhere. Well, like, so I think it was like the Night Sky Prince, like the YouTube channel. He made like a really good, he did like a little breakdown on this, and it's really interesting because I didn't think about this, but Sora means like daytime sky, right? And obviously Noctis is like the night sky, right? And then so some of the story elements they're bringing in now, it's like, oh shit, well, like maybe like Nomura's like grand plan was to like really unite Final Fantasy with like the world of Kingdom Hearts, right? And so by having like them being two like different sides of the same coin or some shit, I don't know, dig into that what you will. Other people dug into it a lot better than I have. But like, I guess that once Square Enix kind of ripped that plan away from him after he'd already started executing on that plan and he couldn't really go back, then like he was pretty much just like a whole like fuck Final Fantasy like mentality, and hence we got that VRM Rex shit. It's a little interesting. I mean, I dug into it a little bit, but that was like a while ago. I don't know.
Yeah.
I like that whole dude. Did you see the new game they're coming out with in like 3 days? It's literally. Here's the funny thing. It's like Guitar Hero, except for there's no instruments. It's literally just on your like controller, and it's like 3 fucking buttons.
Just another music rhythm game, like Theatrhythm,
with story content hidden behind it, like full. Like, are you shitting? And it's a full price game too. Now, to be fair, I guess Square Enix needs the money. They fucking lost their ass on Avengers, but I mean, how much of that are they paying to Disney?
Yeah, I wouldn't try to milk it with Kingdom Hearts properties, especially when I feel like you could take Kingdom Hearts eventually and kind of try to wean away the whole having to depend on Disney.
Yeah,
I don't mind incorporating it, but having to depend on it as your vehicle.
I kind of wonder. I can't help but imagine that Disney probably owns the majority of it.
At this point, yeah, they sure do.
I mean, and here's another thing too. This is my own personal thought on it. Like, if Tetsuya Nomura is like actually really pissed, right? If Tetsuya Nomura is actually like really, really fucking pissed at Square Enix, right? I mean, Disney owns so many goddamn properties at this point, right? What is the one thing that they don't really, really have down? A game company.
Yeah, they are like kind of bitches to the system there. Like they find a developer and then they pay them a ton. For a while it was Capcom, and then it was Virgin Games, and then it was, now they're hitting anybody and everybody who will make for them.
I mean, all I'm saying, they own every goddamn thing else. It wouldn't surprise me if one of these days they hit up Tetsuya Nomura and be like, "Hey, you know what? We need a president of this division, or we need a head developer of this division," and you know the formula.
And just rip him away. Yeah.
I mean, why the fuck wouldn't he? I mean, I bet Disney's gonna pay him more lucratively than Square Enix.
They'd have to pay off Square Enix, basically.
I mean, Square Enix would probably take it too. All the fucking debt.
Yeah, they probably would. It would be smart of them because, like, it's okay to own something, but they could be like, okay, well, as long as you're not going to use our characters anymore, you can go ahead and.
Yeah, it just sucks with Kingdom Hearts. It just really sucks ass because it's like, I feel like I put like a 20-year investment in that fucking game.
Everybody did it. Nomura, though, he's not the best at like keeping his head on straight.
Dude, if he fucks up Final Fantasy VII Remake, oh my god, I will fucking do something.
The only thing that we have that's like a little bit of a saving grace with Final Fantasy VII Remake is that the story is kind of already there, and it's not gonna change it too much.
Yeah, well, thank God the other fucking developers, the other heads of the project, I should say, are all on board, because there was rumors that like Nomura wanted to like do other crazy shit and like really go off the fucking rails, and they were like, nah, bitch, you don't have like full reins of this project. So,
yeah, and you're gonna make so many people mad,
dude. I'll say this right now: if they fuck that up, because I'll be honest, Final Fantasy 16, it's already not looking that great in my opinion. It's like basically Devil May Cry, with like.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be something new to try, but I think the story could be really good.
I mean, yeah, it might be. I'm just saying, like, I feel like Square Enix, man, I feel like they're getting so lost in the sauce. It's like, and it's cool. Don't get me wrong. Square Enix has always been a company that's like been like super like innovative and like wanting to try new things, and like that's dope, right? But like, when was the last time, other than Final Fantasy VII Remake, that you guys just did what people have been asking for?
Mm-hmm.
Like, when was the last time? And it's like, man, I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to tell because, like, you know, maybe I'm just some stupid asshole fucking on the internet talking shit when I really don't know anything about that. But it's like, you know, you get like enough perspective from like the community, and you get people who like all of a sudden are like, yeah, I'm not gonna play your titles anymore. Like when like majority of like influencers in particular who you get like tons of marketing from, right? Like these people get paid to play are literally just saying like, yeah, I don't want to do that because they're bad. Man, that's a tough road to go down. And people, and actually even more evidence to that, right? When you have tons of influencers and people like just going back to play your old games more because they're like, oh wow, these games really were great. Like, doesn't that like mean, or like doesn't that like tell you something? I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but
I know with the Avengers game, they were trying to create a different experience, like one that wasn't like what you've already seen in MCU.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of people that were still really confused as to why they couldn't use the likenesses of the characters. But then I guess paying them to do voices would have been the even more expensive thing than
can you
using
imagine?
their likenesses.
You know
Yeah.
damn well using like paying all those actors and shit, like they would have been out probably 70 million.
But I think that's the thing that Disney should have forked for.
Although we're also forgetting, man. You know how much percent is Disney taking on that shit? I have a feeling Disney's taking them to the fucking cleaners. You know, in hindsight, it's fucked up to say, but maybe partnering with Disney was probably one of the worst decisions they ever made.
Yeah. And I don't even. At least it wasn't like any of the mainline. I think it was the Montreal group that did this one. The one that used to be Eidos.
Huh.
Like, they're more of the action game.
Yeah.
Type crew anyway.
I mean, as far as action games go, I mean, I think Kingdom Hearts did a really good job, right? Definitely when the game came out, it was way too... I mean, that's the one thing. Kingdom Hearts 3, like the data, like the last battles, whatever, the hard boss battles, like they were fucking hard. It's just like with Kingdom Hearts 3 in particular, like it could have been incredible. It really could have been. It's just like the battle system was just not... They didn't even patch it right away, which is the crazy fucking thing. They waited like a month and a half or 2 months or some shit before they fucking patched it. And it's like, well, at that point, everyone's already beaten the fucking game, and we've already had our experience ruined. Thanks. But like, you know, it's weird because it's when I, at least when I got the DLC and I was like doing the extra battles, I was like, holy fuck, I was not ready for this. I'm sitting there just tapping X because it's like I forgot what it was like to have to fucking like actually like do anything strategic. I forgot that you could do like strategic shit in like a Kingdom Hearts game, because literally it's like the most of the game all you had to do is press triangle and just spam fucking abilities, right? Spam that fucking ship, spam Simba, spam like whatever. Because I mean that's another thing too, is like the attractions. Don't get me wrong, I think it was a cool idea, right? But it's
the fact though that you could literally you could destroy a boss even in the hardest versions of the game with just attractions.
Yeah, I mean it's like they're just spammed too much. I feel like they should have, honestly, you know, it's funny actually, I think they did it right in the first boss fight, right? When you have the train, like if they were smart, what they should have done, they should have made it so that way like the attractions were like a finishing move or some shit, or like, you know what I mean, something that you could do that's like cool, like as like a battle technique for specific boss fights. Like that would have been dope. Like that would have made so much more sense. Oh, actually, you know what? Speaking of boss fights, that was another thing they fucked up on too. One, they never even patched in a Coliseum, so there's no Coliseum.
Yeah.
There's no Final Fantasy character, so there's no fucking Sephiroth fight, which is like a staple at this point. Crazy. And 3, you know that like I'm pretty positive the only like Disney boss, which again this goes back to the whole interactive with like the Disney world. Like if you're, I'm not even like really a Disney fan, but like if you are a Disney fan, I would think that you would probably want this more. One of the biggest things about the old Kingdom Hearts games was that like you were interacting with the Disney movies, so it was kind of like a little new, right? Like the conclusion was the same, but it was still a little new. There was only one Disney boss fight, and that was like in the very that was like the very beginning of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else was just a Heartless, and it was like a random Heartless too that just kind of like came out of nowhere. So like they didn't even have to like build up the story. Like damn, I'm just thinking about that. Like yeah, you know, they fucking saved development money on that too, because they didn't even have to write they didn't have to write the story to like have like the villain be someone that you fought at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like another thing that kind of like I kind of don't understand this then. Like this is where I think Disney has to be fucking them, because like I can't help but wonder, how does Square Enix keep losing their ass if they're like getting cheaper and cheaper? Like yeah, graphic fidelity is going up, right? But like even then they cheap out there because there's less interactive characters, right? It's not like, it seems like every Final Fantasy we're having less and less of a party aspect, right? We're just going down to like single player or like maybe like a few players.
And like if you think even on like Final Fantasy 13, you didn't have shops anymore. You like literally went through the game, and then eventually you found places where you could get you could trade in the currency of the thing. Like you weren't going to hubs and like grinding for money. You just were walking along this pathway where the story was happening.
Yeah, I just don't. There's got to be some fundamental misunderstanding that I have, obviously, but like, I just can't understand that. Like, if they're cutting all these costs, is it really just like the graphical fidelity that's like fucking everything up? Like, and if that's the case, then like, wouldn't it just behoove them to say like, hey, look, you know, this time around, you know, I think we've nailed the graphics. Okay, like let's say Final Fantasy VII Remake, right? Like we think the graphics are relatively pretty good for part 1. You know, we want to make part 2 so that way you can play it on a PlayStation 4. We recommend PlayStation 4 Pro, or like they could say some shit like that, right? But like you can play it on a PlayStation 4. You will get upscaling on a PlayStation 5, and the frame rates and shit will be smoother, like whatever.
I think the only problem with PlayStation 4, even on PlayStation Pro, like they didn't expect people to be able to move through it as fast as people could.
Yeah.
And so they were getting issues with textures not loading up, because it's all like one big area and it loads progressively, and it wasn't catching up to them. And you could get to where the game looks really ugly at a certain point. Oh my gosh, I'm getting an R0 on the game.
No. Wait, is it really going down? Nuh-uh.
I hope not. It hiccuped back.
Oh, sweet. Oh. Saved you on that one. But yeah, no, I mean, this is what they could do, right? They could just be, because I mean, it would save the money. They could just be like, hey, look, we don't want to we feel like it'll affect sales if we just hike up the price to like $70 to $80 for per game. We don't want to do that, right? But like, you know, we got to pump these games out, and we know you want them. So what we'll do, we'll just focus on making sure that the story and shit like is on point, and that you have tons of like things to do. You have like, we make like a premium product again. Like, I mean, because at this point, like, I just don't understand. Like, I really don't. It makes no sense to me, because I don't understand how Square Enix just keeps like fucking taking dives, right? It literally feels like every 5 years this company like almost loses all their shit. Like, it's crazy. when they were like at the top of their game. And it just seems to me it's like they started fucking up whenever they started kind of trying to do like the cheap money making tactics.
Yeah, when shareholders get too involved in it.
Yeah, but you would think. I mean, this is what I don't understand, because I get that shareholders want like their quarterly profits, their their Q3, Q4, like Q4 profits and shit. Like I get that. Every they got to make their money, but like that, like where does investment come into play in that, right? Like they have to be able to see some kind of trend. Now I understand like the mobile game shit is like that's like their bread and butter at this point. So they're like, well, why would we spend all this money on development costs if we can just fucking make cheap shit? I just don't. I mean, maybe it does. Maybe I'm completely wrong, and maybe like the loss of money that they have. That all those shareholders
Japan as a culture is moving to more mobile-based stuff because they're always on the go and everything.
That's Asia, right? Like in general.
Yeah, it's their lifestyle, but they're definitely taking hits with their reputation in the stateside.
Well, I mean, what's going to end up happening? I mean, this is just inevitable, I think, at this point. Most companies don't last forever. Square Enix has lasted a long time, or Square in general, but like, maybe their time is coming. That would suck, but like, maybe their time is coming. And because of their inability to like, to produce high quality products, maybe some other company is going to come up, and like maybe because Korea is like a booming population right now that's growing and like doing tons of great things in animation and shit. Like I wouldn't be surprised if like a company from Korea decided to like make their own like style of RPG that's just really fucking good and like takes over. Now it's the weird thing about Final Fantasy, and I don't know what Square Enix has under trademark. The way they have their like abilities and shit structured is like really fucking good. Like a fire spell is called fire, thunder is like called thunder, ice. You know what I mean? Like Blizzard is like you couldn't make a game with like the exact same spells, like just copy paste, right? Like stop, haste, cure, right? Like
they used such well, back on Final Fantasy 1 it wasn't the same though, because some of them like were that way, but like they couldn't hold that much wording in the code, so it was literally like FIR3 or like
yeah. Well, I mean, ice.
So
they didn't have Blizzard. They didn't want to waste the fucking data.
Yeah.
So it was literally ice. But like still like the way they have everything laid out, like Mega Flare, Gravity, Holy, like it's like there's so many. Even like, dude, you can even go into like anime culture and shit where they like if they say like I'm gonna cast that spell, it's like, oh shit, like you just know, like that's how far that shit seeped into. So like I'm just assuming that like another game can't come out and have like those exact same abilities,
yeah, they kind of secured the market per se on that. That's why like when you see games like for Sega, like Phantasy Star series, they have to have a whole different naming convention for everything.
Yeah, and that's kind of a pain in the ass. Now, to be fair, right? If another company comes out, they might not be able to sell that shit in Japan, but doesn't necessarily mean that they don't, or that they have to follow the rules in other countries, or have to follow those rules. Like, what is a Japanese company gonna try to sue me in a different country?
Yeah,
I mean they can try, but like, my country doesn't have to adhere to that.
It's like the only time that you run into issues is when they have a home base in each country.
Yeah, and they don't though. That's the crazy thing. They might have distribution panels, but I know Square Enix has like a home in the United States, like so.
Yeah,
I don't think
they've got a home in the U.S., but they don't have one in Korea. They don't have one in China.
Yeah, and like definitely not. China wouldn't give a fuck anyways. If they think they can make a fucking profit, all they have to do is send a letter to the government and be like, hey, you know what? Based on our, evaluation of this, we've got investors that want to, take over the market. Yeah, I can for sure.
I think they have an office in London and Montreal.
And yeah, I know Montreal for sure.
And Montreal only happened because they bought out Eidos. Like that was the Tomb Raider company.
Oh, yeah.
And then they moved some of the stuff, the IPs over there, but yeah.
But yeah, so if like a country or a company, goddamn, if a company that is in a country like South Korea or something, they're just like, yeah, fuck it. Like, we'll name the game differently, but like, we're going to keep some of these same ideas. Like they just have like different summons, right? Like, but like have the same, cause like, I mean, because like the names are like so self-explanatory.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, why wouldn't you why wouldn't you just kind of use it? I mean, I don't know about you, but I've played other games where like some of the shit's kind of the same, right? Like I've seen games where they like say thunder is like lightning, right? Or like Blizzard is, they just use the same name. Now I think they're careful on that. There's probably like certain things that they're really careful of, but no, yeah, it's just super. That's one thing about Square Enix where I've always kind of wondered. I'm like, damn, I wonder how much of that is under copyright.
Well, it's like even Dungeons and Dragons back in the 70s, they incorporated hobbits into their lore, and then they had to remove the name Hobbit and just call them a halfling, because the Hobbit name itself was owned by Tolkien's estate.
Interesting.
And they ended up getting sued over that. So yeah, it's just sometimes little things like that.
Yeah, I mean, copyright law, I kind of fucking hate copyright law for a lot of reasons. It needs to be, at least in the United States, I can say that shit needs to be completely rewritten and rethought out. But yeah, no, that's really interesting. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I hope they get their shit together. I don't want that fucking company to fail, but it's like, I mean, at what point, because I mean, shareholders are investors, right? Like they gotta be smart enough to know, like, hey, like maybe if we just like try to do things right, like we saw, and actually it's not even, Blizzard's a prime example of this, right? Their bread and butter used to be like RTSs, and that's fine and dandy. Like you can say like, okay, well, like RTSs just really aren't a thing anymore. Nobody wants to play them. Fine, that's fair, cool. Even though like StarCraft 2 is getting like a resurgence, whatever. But like a bunch of devs, like old devs from Blizzard, are like starting their own company now because they like have started to like, they just don't believe in Blizzard anymore. And one of the first games that they're gonna make is a brand new like RTS game, right? Like, and there's gonna be no competition for it because none of the big game companies have done anything with it. All they have to do is come out with like a couple unique gameplay mechanics to add to the RTS that like no one has experienced before, and like they probably will, because I mean they're the fucking brightest minds at Blizzard. They've been there for the longest amount of time. Of course they're gonna be, and especially like Blizzard's bread and butter was RTS for like the longest time, so of course like they probably have some ideas that were swept under the rug like a long time ago that just never saw the light of day, that they're like, fuck it, we're going all out for this one.
Well, it's funny, like they feel like the moment that the medium changes and that they can offer a different experience, that's the only thing that people want. And the thing is, like, even turn-based games, there's still a ton of people who love turn-based games. Yep. Like, that will play through them, figure out how to like maximize like their time in it or minimize their time in it. Like I see people doing, you know, the what are they called? The ATG, the speedrun community.
Oh yeah, yeah. I know.
And then also the people that try to hack the game to because they'll manipulate RNG.
Yeah.
But and there's tons of people that are into that type of thing, and